What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Thursday. DK Show up on the air. Your radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Also available online, worldwide, man. SportsTalk1051.com. You got your app, smart devices, video stream up and rolling on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Appreciate you making us part of your starts on this Thursday morning of April 4th, 4/4/24. What do we got on the game plan for us here this morning? Well, you can't win them all, right? Brewers falling for the first time this season yesterday afternoon against the Minnesota Twins. Brewers did have the lead going into the seventh, but 5 runs by the Twins, and Twins never looked back. So Brewers falling to 4-1 on the season here, but Jackson Cheerio yesterday got his first career home run, youngest since Gary Sheffield, 1988, youngest Brewer since 1988 over there. So add a little bit more to the Jackson Cheerio legend that just continues to grow, if you will. But also got a homer from Reese Hoskins yesterday too. So Brewers have the off day today before welcoming the Seattle Mariners for a weekend series beginning tomorrow. So, uh, with that, we're about a week in now. If you think about it, a week in to for the Brewer season at least. Well, week in for Major League Baseball because a week ago yesterday was opening day. So just flying on by right now, isn't it? We're gonna talk some baseball coming up here. Oh, I thought there was something different there. But we'll talk some baseball coming up here just in a little bit here this morning to lead things off, kind of recapping the game from yesterday and just maybe kind of recapping first week because already in the books here, 5 games in for the for the crew. So what else we got? Bucks, another ugly loss last night. Yuck. No Dame, no Middleton. Still going up against the lowly Memphis Grizzlies, and the Bucks can't get it done. Dropping that game 111 to 101. Jaren Jackson Jr. going off for 35 points against the Bucks last night. Brooke Lopez, he had 25 to lead the Bucks. Giannis 1. Yes, but and then you had Portis coming off the bench with 19, and that was pretty much it. Jay Crowder 6, Pat 6, Beasley 10. Bucks shot 40, almost 41% from 3 last night, but just 40% overall. Memphis on the meanwhile 50.5% from the field, even though just shooting 30.4% from 3. So let's just face it, Bucks they're not playing really well. They're not playing well. They've got, what do we got here? 6 games left to go. Yeah, 6 games left to go in this regular season, and not playing great hoops as they inch closer to the postseason here. I understand Dame is hurt and such, but man, oh man, this is I don't feel good about this team heading into the postseason. I don't feel good about them at all. They're still holding on to that second seed in the Eastern Conference, 1.5 up over Cleveland. Magic just 2 games back now from that second spot. They've passed the Knicks. So we know the teams that have pretty much clinched spots up. I mean, you got Atlanta that now has clinched a playoff berth. You got Chicago that's with them. Boston, we knew already clinched up some things there, clinched up the top seed there. So, but man, Western Conference, if you're looking at the Timberwolves and their race, things are getting incredibly tight over there. OKC just losing to Boston. So now Minnesota, Denver up there, tied at the top. Oklahoma City just 1 game back. So yeah, but Bucks, man, what is going on with this group? What's the deal here? Kind of frustrating. not kind of, it is frustrating at this point. Off day today for the Bucks. They got Toronto tomorrow, which I mean, given what we've seen these last couple games, not to be a Debbie Downer or anything, but given these last couple games here, I don't know how it's going to go against Toronto. Then you got the Knicks, and you got Boston, then you got Orlando in this fight now, twice. OKC in a fight. Man, Bucks better kick it into gear here. Better really kick it into gear here. So we'll talk some hoops throughout the morning. I know we got for the women's side, Final Four begins tomorrow. Men's obviously beginning on Saturday. UConn, I think, finally, I don't know if you heard this story, but UConn couldn't fly out to Arizona, some plane issues. They finally, I think it was 1:30 in the morning, so just a few hours ago, able to hop a plane and get out there and such. So, yeah, got that drama dealing with over there. But, we've got Final Four coming up this weekend. So, be some good hoops action, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. So we'll throw that in there. It is Thursday, so we got some outdoor tidbits with Mr. Jake Bolks coming up at about 8:30 this morning. We'll catch up with him as we inch closer to turkey season. Youngsters are going to be up first than the rest of us adults out there. So if you have any questions for Jake, let me know. Hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line 715-830-1912. Also, it is receiver defer. So if you have any suggestions or nominations or ideas for a little receiver defer, you can pass those along via the text line. So you can do that over there too. We'll do a little receiver defer coming up at about let's say 7:40, 7:45 this morning. So may throw a little football talk in there. We had a big trade as well. Stephon Diggs out in Buffalo. He's now a member of the Houston Texans. So the Houston Texans, you look at a lot of the moves they made this offseason. They are going to be a sexy pick, popular pick to maybe go to the Super Bowl or be a top team in the AFC. Considering how the Texans performed last year. CJ Stroud, offensive rookie of the year. D'Amico Ryans doing a hell of a job over there as head coach. But now you get Stephon Diggs with Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and then you got Joe Mixon, who came over in the offseason too. So you've got a lot of excitement right now if you are a Houston Texans fan, but a big-time trade there to move Stephon away from Buffalo down to Houston. Buffalo's really been trying to. They're going to have some dead money, but trying to get into a little bit better of a cap situation. But we'll see. As now it's 3 weeks away. 3 weeks away from the first round of the NFL draft. We're almost there. We're almost there. I got to be honest. I feel like it's kind of quiet surrounding it. It's in Detroit, in case anybody didn't know. I feel like we're not getting the hoopla or the excitement leading up to it. I feel like in years past, last year in Kansas City, kept hearing about it, kept hearing about Kansas City. He was doing Vegas the year prior. I feel like it's kind of like flying under the radar. I mean, does Detroit know that they're holding the draft coming up in 3 weeks from today? So, but hey, 3 weeks from today with the first round, where are you at right now in terms of, okay, I think this is the guy I want for my first round pick? Realistically, I mean, obviously you're not going to get Marvin Harrison Jr. or whatever. I'm trying to think of a guy top 5, top 10, unless Green Bay completely surprise everybody. But where do you think, or what is your 3 week prediction right now, if you got one? What is your 3 week my Packers mock pick first round? If you're a Vikings fan, do you think your team is going to package those picks and more to move up in the top 5 to grab a quarterback? And if you are a Vikings fan listening to this program, what quarterback do you have your eye on? Realistically, what quarterback do you have your eye on? And I say realistically because it's not going to be Caleb Williams. So who do you think it'll be, or who would you like it to be? Realistically. So we'll throw a little football talk into our conversation here this morning too, since we are 3 weeks away from the first round of the draft. But let's get things rolling this morning. We'll talk some baseball to open it up. Brewers looks like perhaps they were going to go 5-0, sweeping a couple of series, but then the seventh inning popped up. Twins putting up 5 runs there against a bullpen that has been well, they've been taxing early goings for this Brewers team. That's at least what the experts are out there saying. And yeah, they've logged quite a bit of innings coming up here in the beginning and such. But nonetheless, a lot of walks issued by the Brewers yesterday. Was it 7 walks? I think was the number. I'll have to double check that. But giving freebies over there. Yeah, yeah, 7 walks. Where's it at here? Let me bring it up. Yeah, 7 walks, 5 of them by Joe Ross. We saw Joe Ross making his first appearance in a couple years. You know, obviously he did some minor league stuff last year, but in terms of the big leagues and that, but just going 3 and 2/3, 2 hits, striking out 3, but did issue 5 walks. So Pyops didn't have his stuff yesterday. He got charged with the loss and a blown save, just going a third of an inning, 4 hits, 4 earned runs. But Jackson Cheerio, he hit a home run, his first career home run. He is now hitting 350. Bryce Terang picking up another RBI as well. This team. What first week impressions, I guess, maybe kind of looking at this if you want, but we're already a weekend to the regular season here. So let's talk some baseball as we open up things here this morning. Join in on the convo. Hit us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Quick break, and we'll get things rolling here this morning, all right? We'll be back after these quick words. Are you looking to get your name out in the public eye more? Do you need some apparel, some drinkware, or some signage done? Hey, whatever marketing materials you may be looking for, Resonance Branding Company has a wide range of items to help make your brands stand out from the competition. All your branding needs in one convenient place. Resonance is here to save you time, money, and headaches. They can also set you up with an online store to sell your items as well. So let me simply ask you, does your brand resonate? Resonance Branding Company, the official swag provider of the program, I'm trying to be cute here, and the Man Cave podcast. Check them out on Facebook and online today. MLB.com's got a piece up. First week takeaways for each team after the season's first week. What is your first week takeaway for the crew or whoever your favorite team is? You're a Cubs fan, you can chime in. You're a Twins fan, you can chime in. Cardinals fan, we got a few of those too. You can chime in. Your first week takeaway from for your team. The Brewers, for Adam McCalvy, his takeaway was my takeaway. It will be an aggressive brand of baseball. Organizational newcomer Rhys Hoskins called the Brewers' athleticism eye-popping, and after the young crew went 8 for 8 on stolen base attempts while sweeping the Mets in the opening series in New York, it was clear they planned to use that to their advantage. Most days, half the starting lineup consists of players in their first or second major league season. They've been led by 20-year-old outfielder Jackson Chourio, the youngest player in Major League Baseball. And on Wednesday, Chourio also became the youngest Brewer player to homer since Gary Sheffield in 1988. I agree. I think, that first week, if anything is told us, is that this is going to be a team that is going to be aggressive on the base pass. Currently, they're still tied for the most stolen bases in Major League Baseball with the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds have one more game under their belt. If that they've also got 30, 41 more at bats. It looks like than the Brewers here. So, you factor that in. Brewers have been uber aggressive, and Bryce Terang still tied up there for the most steals in all of Major League Baseball too. We're not talking about just the National League here. And if it was the National League, Bryce Terang would be leading by looks like 3. Yeah, C.J. Abrams from Washington has 3 stolen bases. Bryce Terang and Jaron Duran from Boston up there with 6 so far. So, yeah, Bryce Terang again. Dude is having a really good start to the season. Offensively at the plate, we know what he can bring defensively with his glove skills over there. But we can get this type of performance from him at the plate and get him running and stealing some bases. Man, what a boost this guy will be for the lineup here. But that would be what I would take away. Probably the biggest thing I would take away from the crew in the first week of action thus far. You could go through some other, I'd probably maybe throw in some other ones like, the personality or the swagger of this team, kind of taking on the personality of their manager and Pat Murphy. I fully believe that. Maybe the first takeaway. I know a lot of you after the first couple games, or maybe it was after the first one too, already talking about Yelly. Yelly's got a couple home runs over there. Maybe your first takeaway is like, finally, we've got maybe some middle of the order production. Rhys Hoskins over there with a couple home runs. Yelich is going to be hitting in at third spot. Couple home runs. Those two guys, 3rd, 4, 5. Rhys has kind of batted a little bit all over so far. But those guys sitting there with a couple home runs apiece, maybe that's kind of what has stood out to you so far. A little bit of pop, a little bit of power over there. Because we've gotten one turn through the rotation, and I don't know if we can necessarily give first week impressions on, starting pitchers 1 week, one turn into the thing. Although Freddie Peralta looked pretty darn good. I mean, pretty darn good. So, but no, that would be my impressions. What would be your first week impressions? Hit us up 715-830-1912. 715-830-1912. Couple of you saying my first week impressions is that it looks like they're going to steal a lot more bases this year. Definitely excited to definitely, I think that's a little bit of a typo. I think you're supposed to say I'm definitely excited to see if that continues this year. That was a weird typo over there. Kind of threw me for a loop. Another texter here saying my first week impression so far has been Pat Murphy. Impressed with the energy it seems like he has brought to this team. Another one, this is from David on our texting line saying, I've been impressed so far with the Brewers just kind of grinding out some of these victories. I'm sure they'll have a lot of ups and downs throughout the season, but so far it's been more ups than downs outside of what happened yesterday. So, all right. Yeah, I would agree with all of those. Absolutely. I would agree with all those. Brewers yesterday looked like they were going to start off 5-0 on the season, holding on to a 3-1 lead going into the 7th. But Twins had other ideas. They took advantage of Pyomps not being on his game yesterday, having a little bit of an issue over there. He ended up getting the loss and a blown save, 4 earned runs in just a third of an inning pitched, and putting up that 5-burger in the top of the 7th. The Brewers just weren't able to come back from that. Twins added on a little bit of an insurance run in the top of the 9th there. But it looks like, I mean, for a big chunk here, it's like, hey, Brewers are going to start this season 5-0 with a couple of series sweeps over there. Got to be feeling pretty darn good about that. But no, just didn't have enough in the tank. Bullpen's kind of been used a lot. I mean, when you look at some of these pitchers outside of Freddie Peralta, I mean, you look at Joe Ross yesterday, just 3 2/3. Okay, got to go to your bullpen early. You look at Jacob Junis, the first starts in that Minnesota series, only just a few innings. Got to go to your bullpen early. Junis pitched, 4 innings. Okay, got to go to your bullpen early. Then you've got, you go back. Yeah, you had the off day on Monday. You go back to Sunday's game against the Mets. That was Colin Ray's start. Again, not deep into it, and I get it. You're trying to preserve some of your starters, just kind of opening up the season and such. But Colin Ray goes and pitches 5 innings. Thankfully, Hudson was able to go in there and pitch 3 innings in that game and not force the Brewers to use a ton of their bullpen arms. Then you go to Saturday's game when DL Hall gets his first career starts. Again, kind of had to go to your bullpen early. He only pitched 4 innings. So, off day today, I think, is probably coming at a good time for the crew, just to give their bullpen a little bit of an extra day of rest here, because you look at the schedule now coming up for the crew. You're looking at this schedule. You've got Seattle for 3 games, Cincinnati for 4 straight games, Baltimore for 3 straight games, Padres for 3 straight games. So after today, your next off day isn't going to be until the 18th. So are you ready to join the program now?
Yeah, I was on the phone. G-Man called me. He wanted to move my picks for the Final Four so he could make some wise investments.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So,
especially my pick on Purdue.
Man
Boy,
alive.
was I wrong on them.
Man alive. So, no, we're talking some baseball here, bro. What's been your first week impression so far of this Brew Crew team?
I'm happy. 4-1. If somebody would have said, would you take 4-1 after the first 5 games? You bet.
Absolutely, right.
Yeah.
Yesterday looked like they were going to go 5-0, but bullpen we were just talking a little bit about, it's been kind of taxed a lot And probably a perfect day for an off day today because they're not going to have their next off day until the 18th. So it's going to be a lot of games in a row here too. But
And where are they going to be? How much have they got left as far as home games?
Well, they
Because
got
I'm telling you,
Seattle.
that puts stress on pitching arms when you got to go out into the cold.
Yeah, they got 4 games in Cincinnati starting Monday, and then Baltimore at Baltimore right after that. They'll return home 15th against the Padres.
All right.
So
Well, good. No, hopefully they can stay competitive and keep going. I think Reese Hoskins was a very good signing. I think he's bringing some attitude, and
we're
maybe
seeing what you and I have wanted, right? Stolen bases. They lead the league in stolen bases. Bryce Terang tied for the most right now. They're showing aggressiveness on the base pass.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about that the last couple of years, and it's hard to knock success. They've been in the playoffs, but it's just more fun baseball to watch when there's something going on. Station to station baseball. If you got guys that can hit a lot of home runs, that's fine. You don't put base runners in jeopardy of not being on when the big bangers come up. But the Brewers don't have those big bangers, so you got to move guys around, put pressure on the defense, and so it's been fun to follow them these first few days.
It's just putting pressure on the opposing team, not only the defense but the pitcher, right? Because if you got a pitcher up there that's knows that okay, that guy at first has got a good chance he's going to steal. That's gonna help the batter up at the plate too, right? Maybe take advantage of a mistake from that pitcher.
Oh, absolutely. When he doesn't have 100% focus on that pitch and that catcher and what's going on, you lose track of the runner a little bit. Yeah,
pitch clock factors in, so you're kind of rushed and all that. So
it's good to have baseball back, and I'll bet the Twins are the first team that'll say, "Thank God we were playing in Milwaukee."
Yeah, well, I mean, for crying out loud, the Mets had to postpone another one.
Yeah.
They've only played 4 games, I think, so far this year. So
are the Twins going home now and have to play?
Is it home? They play the Guardians. Let me see if it's
because it's it's
it's at Minnesota.
So hopefully there'll be day games for a while at least.
3:10 today.
And that's going to be blustery. We're going to have winds blowing, and it's going to be blustery out there. So
looks like is it 3:10 today, but then an off day tomorrow, and then Saturday and Sunday. So
good
built-in off day there just in case, I suppose. So. But then the Dodgers come over next week to face the Twinnies. So,
well, good. Get the Dodgers out of L.A. Get them into a different environment. I mean, it's hard to play. I don't care if it's your home field or not. It's still hard to play when the wind's blowing, the weather's cold. But the Dodgers are not familiar with that at all.
First week impressions on Pat Murphy so far.
Oh,
I love his energy. Personality.
I just echo everything you're saying. I think he's got the team moving. It's not you don't know what he's going to call. Is he going to call a hit and run? Is he going to call a stolen base? What's he going to call? I think he's got these guys alert.
I noticed a lot of people too had said, not just from yesterday's game, but earlier in the week, talking about some of the changes in pitching or like bullpen ones. Some people have noticed he's kind of going maybe a little bit more with his gut and not always going with the numbers or what the stats or what the analytics will tell you a little bit there, which I think some people appreciate, kind of going with your gut there a little bit too. So
yeah, baseball is a, kind of a seat of the pants, emotional type game. What looks like it's going to work, who's hot, this, that, and the other thing, rather than looking strictly at the numbers. So I think some of these older time managers that have been around the game a long time versus these newer guys that look at the stats more than the older guys do. I won't say one's right or one's wrong, but I think one is more fun than the other.
I think this first week impressions too, and I don't know if anybody watched the game a little bit yesterday. When Jackson hit his first home run, and it's kind of a tradition, you hit your first home run, you get the silent treatment when you get in a dugout. Pat Murphy was just perfect. I don't know if you saw that.
No,
like,
I didn't.
The facial expression already with what he has. Willie Adames was the first one. Jackson's all pumped up. He's just turned 20.
Yep.
And Willie's at the top step and doesn't high five him, just stares at him. You see Pat doesn't even flinch, doesn't even move, just stares, just that whole thing. But and Jackson's like, what's going, but then they kind of really, it was a silent treatment there. That's tradition.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to watch that because, especially like you said, the kid is all pumped up, first home run in the majors, and nobody's excited for him. And then of course they all turn around and do it. So, but that's one of the fun things about baseball. While it's an individual sport, it's still a team sport.
And I'm just glad for Jackson. He's off to a good start too.
Yeah, he is. He's doing a nice job.
Gotten a hit every single game. I know some of his lines in the outfield is taking some interesting lines, but that'll come with a little bit more experience out there. I'm just glad, because with all the pressure that was under him, or on him, he's come out and he's done a really good job so far.
Yeah, he has. And you mentioned the lines he takes in the outfield. Every stadium is different.
Yep.
And, he hadn't played in AmFam Field.
Yep.
So he's got to get used to the sight lines, where the crowds are, and how he gets focused on home plate and the ball coming off the bat. It's not easy when you got that many people, all those different colors in the stands and the balls going up and, to follow it. It's a different stadium than the minor league stadiums that he's been in. So, it's going to take a little time. I don't think he's made any glaring errors at all. I was gone on my farm tour, so I didn't see the first few games of the season. But from the scattered reports I got, doing a nice job.
Yeah, just looks a little awkward, but again, that'll come from, like what you said, just adjustment and from experience.
Yeah.
That
He'll
sort
get
of stuff.
familiarity with the whole scenario. And, I've never went through it, but I know we have folks in our area that played Major League Baseball, and I'm sure they'll tell you that going from the minor leagues to the major leagues is a whole lot different as far as, the food available, how they take care of your uniforms, how you travel, the hotels you stay in. It's a different world, and it takes some getting used to. And it's pretty heady stuff for a kid that young.
Yeah. Youngest Brewer to hit a home run since Gary Sheffield, 1988 over there. I was 2 years old. Think about that. So
I was a little more than that.
Yeah, you were what, 60?
Gaining on it.
But yeah, it was good to hear Euchre on the call again 2 days in a row. So
and I was listening to the game the day before yesterday, the first game of the Twin Series. And one thing that struck me is, if you were to say Bob Euchre, how old is Bob Euchre? From listening to him, the excitement in his voice. I mean, you don't hear this older, gravelly stuff. Bob Euchre is up and alert and alive. His voice is there. How many people, if they didn't know Euchre, would say he's 90 years old?
I know, right?
It just is still so full of life and full of love of the game and love of his team. He's still fun to listen to.
He is, and he got to call Jackson's home run yesterday. Here it is, if in case you missed it. So. There you go.
I didn't hear that. But no would have been perfect if he just said, that only puts him 5 behind my career average or something like that. I don't know how many you could hit, but it wasn't many. But, the guy I love his home run. Get up, get out of here, gone. I mean, that's one of the best home run calls ever.
I was driving home yesterday listening to the game, and he was on. It was his turn on there, and he was talking. And you mentioned even at 90 years old, he's telling a story about an opening day at County Stadium, talking about the snow. And he was talking about a game, I think he said it was in the 70s, like 1975 or something like that, where it was snowing so hard. And he remembered, Gorman Thomas, couldn't see, the ump couldn't see. He knew who the home plate ump was in 1975. As he's telling the story, he's like, we'll tell it. And all of a sudden he's like, low and outside, ball two, just still can call that game and still pick up right where he left off in that story.
Oh, he's great for that.
Yeah.
He doesn't let the game interfere with a good story.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And he's still on top of that.
Oh, yeah.
He's still on top. Like, I'm sitting there listening. I'm like, you're getting two different things right now, and he's not missing a beat.
Not missing a beat. And, you listen to some of these new announcers or younger guys, they're very efficient, very eloquent, and they know the game, but they don't have the feel for it. You don't have, and I don't know, you think about it, there have been very few guys in the history of the major leagues that have been play-by-play announcers that have been players. A lot of color guys that help the play-by-play announcer, but very few
Yeah.
that have been able to do it like Euchre has. There have been some, but they're few and far between. That's why Euchre is such a jewel. And I just hope as parents have their kids listen to Euchre, just tell them a little bit about the history and how unusual it is to have a guy like this that can do what he does: call the game, tell stories, entertain, bring you up to speed on what's going on in baseball. He is truly a jewel.
Yep, absolutely. It was just like I got home, I'm just like I stayed in the truck and just listened to finish the
I've done
story.
that too.
Just like and to still remember who the home plate ump was and everything about that. It was really entertaining. And you're right. I would never have guessed if you didn't know him. Not a night, not at 90 years old.
Doesn't
90 years
sound
young.
like it at all.
No.
Doesn't sound like it at all.
And I'm fully on board with whatever he wants to do. Make his own schedule. Go for it. Yes, selfish. I would love to hear more times than not, but I'll take whatever euchre I can get at this point.
Oh
So
yeah, and I think I don't know this, but I assume that he probably has a driver that gets him back and
that's what
forth
I
to
was
the
wondering
games,
too. Yeah,
and I don't even think he goes to Chicago anymore, does he?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so but that's fine. We
Mhm.
get him half the season, and that's better than nothing.
Nope. Yeah, because he was talking about yesterday. He's like, "Yep, woke up at about 7:15, went to the beach, laid out a little bit down in Milwaukee,
Yeah.
before the game." So,
Oh yeah,
but still a treasure, no doubt about it.
absolutely, and hopefully I just hope against hope that they can get him a World Series title.
I know.
He's got a ring when he played with the Cardinals. He's got a World Series ring, but this would cap off a marvelous career.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so let's take a quick break. We'll have some more baseball talk throughout. But your first week impressions, if we missed any, let us know. Hit us up with a quick text 715-830-1912. Quick break, and we'll be back to finish up the first hour after these quick words. Coming up next Friday, we'll be doing the program from Hy-Vee for our second annual putting challenge by Carpet City Flooring Center. So, intern, you're going to need to bring in the wiener putter.
Okay.
Bring it in so we can so I can use it on Friday.
All right.
So, just in case anybody wants to use the wiener putter for their putting challenge,
You
on
better
Friday
take it
too,
home
so.
and practice with it. It's got a little different balance than a normal putter.
Yes, well, I believe me, I know. So, but that'll be next Friday over at Hy-Vee. It was a lot of fun last year. Carpet City Flooring Center, custom made putting green over there. Got a little water hazard, little sand trap
Oh, wow.
over there too.
I
Some
can't handle them
breaks.
on a big course. How am I going to do it on that?
Hey, some breaks on there too. So it's a lot of fun. Big thanks to Carpet City Flooring Center for doing that. It's already Masters Week next week.
I was just going to ask you for Masters Week. Now, I haven't, I've been, like I said, I've been gone the last 10 days or so. Who from Livia, or Livia, who from Liv is going to be, is Sergio won it. He can come in. All past winners are welcome to come back and play. But what about, some of the others that are on Liv that Patrick Reed will be back, but that haven't won the Masters because they're not eligible for the golf rankings.
Mm-hmm.
Who's in there? Is Koepka, DeChambeau? Who else are they in there?
I've got the list here. DeChambeau's in there.
Okay, then Brooks Koepka, I'm sure, is going to be in there.
Yeah. I'm just because they don't just have a list; they got all their pictures.
Yeah.
Right next to it there too. So
it'll be interesting to see, and and I don't know if coming back they're going to get something done. I'm nervous about professional golf. I really am.
Brooks is in the field. He's right there. So obviously Phil's in there too. He's a former winner, but he is in the field. But okay, yeah. So John Rahm's in the field. Got a former, he's a champ too.
He's
so
past champion.
But and T-Dub's in there. Tiger's in there. So
I hope he can play.
Make it to Sunday, man. Just make it to Sunday.
I'm afraid his career is what it is. I don't think it's going to be enhanced anymore. He's got a challenge. His challenge not to win another major. His challenge win another tournament so he can break the tie with Sam Snead.
Yeah. Well, if he only plays the majors though too, that might be the
that might be tough.
The issue over there. So, but yeah, I'll be excited for next week. That'll really kind of kick in for me. They've been starting to tease some photos and all that stuff out there.
Yeah, that's when kind of summer of the golfing season begins. I know they're on TV now. They've got the Augusta ladies amateur, but they're not playing at Augusta. They're playing at some other course in Augusta. And I think they'll only play one round at Augusta National. So, that to me loses some of the luster of that tournament.
I think a lot of people too don't realize like this is one of the last events at Augusta for the year because they close down in the summer.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of we're just getting ready for golf season and Augusta's getting ready to wrap up their golf season.
I never understood what their schedule is for the members to be able to use that golf course. I mean, it's you have to have a lot of disposable income to justify being a member at Augusta. There's a lot of prestige in it, but I mean, you're just throwing money at, an opportunity to play. And I don't know how often they play or when they play. I know they stopped playing quite a while before the tournament. So all the tees and everything else, it's all solid, grass. I don't know the schedule, but I know it's different.
It shuts down each May and reopens in October to eliminate a lot of the wear and tear during the peak summer months in Augusta's humid subtropical climate. So that time of year is when improvements in construction, of course, take place. Extreme care and attention are given to the course's famed greens because they are bent grass, a cool season grass. Particular care is taken during the hottest months.
Yeah, so it's a different world there, that's for sure.
Still want to go, but
absolutely,
maybe one of these days we'll get down there. So,
and again, my strategy, which I haven't pulled off yet, is to get tickets for that women's amateur to walk the course, because I just like to walk the course and see it. And then when I come home and watch it on TV, you get the third dimension in your mind that you can't get on TV.
Yep. UConn, by the way, just arrived finally in Arizona about an hour-ish ago after all night plane issues and such. So 3:14 Arizona time over there.
Know
So
the feeling of airplane
Yeah.
troubles and
Yeah.
airport problems. That's for sure. It
So-
happens. It's real.
I'm sure Coach Hurley won't shy away from some of his angst about that. But I was just reading there. It sounds like the NCAA is working with him to push back some practice times and media obligations and all that stuff there too. So
Oh, they have to accommodate them.
you have to. You better. So, G-Man, Brewers are fine. When you split series, that's okay. Bucks are okay.
Bucks are not okay,
yeah,
G-Man.
we'll get to that coming up here in a sec. But he wants me to tell you Brewers will win 100 games this year. So
Whatever he's drinking or smoking, I want some of it.
yeah, we're definitely going to talk some Bucks coming up in the next hour. Another ugly loss by them last night against the Memphis Grizzlies. Just 6 games left to go in the regular season. So we'll get to that coming up next hour. I'll tell you, I was looking for some receiver defer questions. Right now, to this texter, I will have no idea. And I don't think you would either because we're not Duke fans. But the 2024 Duke Blue Devils class is better than the 2018 class. I have no idea. So
I only got one kid from Wisconsin, but
Yeah.
I don't know who the class is.
yeah, I'm not a Duke fan, so
No,
I
I don't spend my time doting over Duke.
Nope. So,
Got
but
enough doting over the Badgers to worry about.
yeah, Badgers. They've got an assistant coach that's now leaving, not Krabbenhoft, but it's going to look a little different down there in Madison. It sounds like so. But hey, spring ball's going on. We got to think about something positive for Badgers.
Yeah, spring
Right now.
football. I didn't realize they got so many practices in the spring, but they get a lot of chances to get together. That's why I remember years ago, and I don't think they do that now, but years ago, some of these guys would go out for track or do something like that, so they didn't have to go to spring ball because that's brutal. I'm sure you talked to Joe and Bill when they come in here, and you ask them about spring practice, and I'm sure they don't have a lot of good things to say about it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. So, all right. Also coming up next hour here. Okay. But no, you can get if anybody else has any other receiver defer questions, you can send those puppies on over if you'd like. Also, don't forget to send your questions for Jake Bolks, our DNR warden buddy, for Outdoor Tidbits coming up at 8:30 this morning. The NFL draft 3 weeks from today. A few of you have texted in who you would like to see the Packers, your 3-week out pick for the first round. If you want to join in, you can text those on over to at 715-830-1912. What else do we got? Yes, the big trade yesterday in the NFL. Got Stephon Diggs now with the Houston Texans.
He seems like he's kind of a, I don't want to say troublemaker, but a kind of a malcontent. Never satisfied that he's getting enough balls or something, and I'm sure that's part of the reason he was gone.
Well,
from some of the comments I heard from some of the Bills fans or Bills leadership, one I think it was general manager. We've got to. The team is first.
Yeah,
type of things.
This was the package. I'm like, wow. And I know Diggs had a huge cap number, so you got to factor that into this too. But the Bills received a second-round pick in 2025. It's not even for this year, 2025, in exchange for Diggs and a 6th-round pick this year and a 5th-round pick next year. So the Bills had to send those 2 picks and Diggs to Houston.
Oh, I misunderstood that. I thought
Yeah.
they were getting not only that 2nd rounder next year, but also the 5th and the 6th rounder too.
No,
they have to give a 5th. Oh boy, I suppose that's part of the cap hit.
Yep. Yeah, Bills had to send those picks over with that too. So it's like, dang, wow.
Where's he going?
Houston.
Wow, Houston's making some moves.
They're trying to take advantage of that CJ Stroud 2nd-year rookie contracts and try to go for it over there. So,
well, I mean, he's a great player. I won't take anything away from his playing ability. He did that with the Vikings. He did it with Buffalo, but I don't think he was everybody's favorite teammate or employee, so to speak. So
yeah, especially last year and a half, you kind of started to hear like rumblings, and usually when there's rumblings, they can downplay that stuff, but there's usually something going on behind the scenes over there.
Yeah, there is, and they only take so much of that.
Yep.
It started. Remember Vince Lombardi and Jim Ringo started Started with that way back when.
Yep. So, well, at least we don't have to worry about ours. I saw Chase Daniel. He's a former quarterback in the NFL. Now works out with other quarterbacks. He had posted yesterday. Uh, got to put in some work with Jordan Love this offseason. Dude is an absolute monster. I've never seen anyone more locked in with training for the month of March than maybe Drew Brees. So it's
Good to
kind of
hear.
different. Nice to hear that stuff
Yeah,
about
it
your
is.
quarterback,
Yeah, it
isn't
is.
it?
Yeah, it is. Because last year at this time, woe is me
Yeah.
is what the attitude was, including from yours truly.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly. Second hour kicking off right now on this Thursday morning of I was gonna say August 4th, April 4th, excuse me.
Yeah, don't jump the gun and blow summer right by us.
No kidding. So big thanks for tuning in wherever, however, you may be tuning in from. We're gonna talk some Bucks here in just a skosh, just a little bit. We've got receiver defer at the back end of the hour. We'll definitely get back to some more baseball talk too. Your takeaways from the first week of the season, even if you're not a Brewers fan, if you're a Cubs, Twins, Cardinals fan, I know
How have the Cubs done? I haven't, like I said, I was gone. I haven't followed it.
I think they're about 500 right now.
Okay.
Let me 4-2 actually. So they're 4-2. They just got a win yesterday against the Rockies. So, but they started off against the Rangers in their first series on the road against the World Series champs. So, Pirates started off really hot, 5-0.
I heard about that. Yeah,
they're 5-1 right now. So, but the Cubbies did sweep the Rockies there, so they're back in it. Of course, way early yet. But
oh yeah.
I wanted to ask you this. I heard this on the DP show. They kind of sparked this topic idea for me, and I threw it out on socials yesterday. But they were I don't know exactly what they were kind of, what led them to this topic and that. But DP, Dan Patrick, was talking a lot about Kareem, your guy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and kind of, went through some of the numbers. And the gist I got, because I was kind of in and out of it, is he now considered an underrated player, based for maybe some of the younger people out there?
I was going to say that as he gets further into the background, so to speak, the younger players, don't accept the quality of play that this guy gave. I mean, he was the best of the best. And I think it's only natural, but he probably is. Another one that he was talking about that I heard before.
So you know what? Yeah, you were listening to the same thing?
Off and on, but I know they were talking about the best ball handlers.
Yes.
And they were talking about Steph Curry and Allen Iverson. Just do me a favor. Go back and watch Pistol Pete Maravich.
I knew you were going to say that. Yep.
Nobody can handle. I mean, Bob Cousy, go back then. Bob Cousy, a great ball handler, and he could, handle the ball through his legs, back behind his back, and everything before all these guys did. Go watch Pistol Pete Maravich, and you tell me there's some. I mean, it's like the ball was part of his hand. To me, Pistol Pete Maravich was the greatest ball handler, passer ever to play the game. I mean, he's same era as Kareem, same year. So all us guys were together, Kareem and Pistol Pete and me. But seriously, just go back and YouTube Pistol Pete Maravich. Not his shooting so much, but which was spectacular, but his ball handling and the way he handled the ball and how he could do it. It's every time I watch, I think, I forgot how great he was. He was, and I was so tempted to email Dan Patrick that day when I was listening to it. I was driving in the car, and they were talking about, and he said, Allen Iverson. And I wanted to say, go back. I was going to tell him, go back and watch some video of Pistol Pete Maravich, and you tell me anybody could handle the ball better than him. I would have to argue a little bit. They're great ball handlers, but Pistol Pete was unbelievable.
I just, you look at Kareem's numbers. I mean, even up till 85, he played up until 88, 89 when he was 41 years old. But, 85, 86 season, he was still averaging 23.4 points per game, getting MVP votes. Got MVP votes, according to Basketball Reference, from year one, 1969, all the way up until 1985, 86. Got MVP votes every single year.
Yeah, he was just...
Would have won 4 national championships if the freshman would have played at UCLA.
Because his freshman team beat the UCLA team that was the national champion. He could have won it with his freshman team. I mean, he was so different, so exceptional. He'd not probably anybody's first choice in this era where, these guys are shooting 3-pointers. He wasn't a 3-point shooter, but that sky hook, his rebounding, his defense, he was a winner. He just was.
And DP was saying, that shot, it's like once he got that shot or when he got the ball, you knew he was going to score. Because you couldn't stop the sky hook.
And you watch it, he was shooting, by the time he turned, got on his toes and did a little jump, got his arm in the air, he was shooting down at the basket. The rest of us shoot a hook shot. We're we're shooting
Trying to
up,
lob it up.
trying to lob it up. He was flicking it down at the basket. And you watch, he played against Wilt. He played against Russell. They didn't block his shot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was, but he was so quiet, and he was such a, you know, just a conservative type of guy. He could get his dander up in certain cases, but he was relatively quiet, just went out and did his job.
Well, and, you know, you play with Magic on those Lakers teams. Magic's going to get...
Yeah, Magic's going to do all that stuff for you.
Right, exactly. So the question I kind of threw out there was, who do you think, and maybe this is your pick, but I'll throw it out to everybody else, the best player, any sport, you can pick any sport, but maybe now is considered underrated?
Oh, boy.
So we had, you want me to go through some of the picks on there on the good old socials? So I got it on Facebook and Twitter here, but on Facebook, some of the comments we've got from our good friend, Mr. Craig Toyson, Clyde Drexler, largely forgotten despite being one of the top 5 players in basketball for about 8 years. So a lot of the careers were buried by MJ.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Dan Marino as a pick. Going either Kevin Garnett and Duncan aren't talked about anymore, and they've only been gone for 8 years. Some other picks on here. Let's go to the Twitter sphere, if you will, because we got some more picks on there. We got another Dan Marino pick. We've got Akeem Olajuwon, Wilt, Jerry Rice, Larry Bird, Tony Gwynn, Pistol Pete was a pick on there. And Pete Sampras was a pick on there, too, going with the tennis world. So
yeah, and, you know, one guy that you and I talk about all the time when we talk baseball, you know where I'm going with this, Ken Griffey.
Mm-hmm.
Ken Griffey Jr., Hall of Fame, hit a lot of home runs, how great he was. But to me, and I think he was probably the best baseball player all around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, Willie Mays could do it all. Hit, run, steal, throw, you know, he's the 5 tool players. But Ken Griffey had those 5 tools, in my mind, better than anybody. So I think he's underrated, because you talk about the 5 best players in baseball history, he doesn't come up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think he should.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ken Griffey Jr., to me, was the most underrated player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As great as he was and as many accolades as he got, I don't think he gets enough.
Baseball is kind of unique for me too. When you talk about some of the greats, and you know, we've done this before, and they, you know, top 100s. It's almost like, you know, when you talk about the NFL, you know, you hear, well, you got to compare the eras, which I would agree with, you know, to a point. Baseball, you don't really hear that argument too much. Maybe it's starting to change a little bit with the pitching. I would, you know, because pitching is just completely different
Oh yeah,
at this point.
Night and day.
Basketball, you hear it a little bit, you know, the 3-point, you know, eras, that sort of stuff there too. But I was trying to think about this too, and you know, I mean, the easiest answer, the number one answer is, of course, Don Hudson. You know, I just got to say that. But yeah, throw that in there.
Well, he is another one that gets. They say, who are the great receivers? Well, and Don Hudson. It was he's almost a throw-in.
I will never forget this. I get it. He was a kid, but I was at, well, this was like 2010, 2011, somewhere around there. I was at the Pro Shop in Green Bay, and that time they had these T-shirts, these player tees for all the Packers Hall of Famers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, that's cool. You know, I got a Bart Starr one, you know, because I didn't have a Bart. And I'm like, well, they don't really make Don Hudson stuff. So I tried to find a Don Hudson one. And so I asked the guy working there, I said, hey, do you guys have any Don Hudson ones? And his response was, they're only for players who are in the Hall of Fame.
Isn't that something? You run into that every once in a while and you think, what are you talking about?
Yeah. I'm like, do you look out the window right now and see the Don Hudson Center right over? Because that was when the Pro Shop was still the 2 levels.
Yep.
Over there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, dude, I want to talk to your manager or something like that.
I mean, you run into that all the time. The age differences and people, you know, Don, I'm surprised you didn't say, who's that? Type of thing, you know, because they do. And that's what happens over time. And I think that's why, getting back to where we started this, why Kareem is probably losing a little bit of the luster of the glory of his game, because it depends on who you ask. You ask them under 30, they, you know,
Kareem, when you create your starting 5, and you ask people of different age groups, you're going to get different answers at that center position.
And rightly so, because that's what they observed. They never saw Kareem play, so he's just, I realize he's great, but I don't think he's better than so and so Shaq or whatever, you know. So
I think then when you just look at the numbers on it, it's like, holy crap, it's like, wow.
Yeah, and he was, and he's different than LeBron. LeBron is, the numbers he's going to set scoring wise will never be touched, I don't believe.
Yep.
But also, you have to realize, I'd like to know a breakdown of how many minutes during a game LeBron has handled the ball versus Kareem.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would be just absolutely mind-boggling, the difference in the minutes of LeBron handling the ball, directing traffic, shooting, doing whatever he wanted, versus Kareem. Because Kareem was at the mercy of the guards and the forward throwing the ball into him. Now, they had orders, throw it into him a lot, but still in all, he got the ball and he made a move, and in a few seconds, he either passed it out or did the sky hook. LeBron will stand there and handle the ball, dribble the ball, bounce the ball, and then make a move, so you break it down to points per minutes of handling the ball. I don't know how you'd ever do that, but there must be some kind of a mathematician that could do that somewhere. But if you took that statistic, I think it'd be mind-boggling how many points Kareem had and the minutes he handled the ball versus LeBron's points and the minutes he's handled the ball in a game.
I would agree. You want to know what also is kind of mind-boggling to me, considering the day and age? The lowest amount of games Kareem played in a season.
Played a lot.
He had 62 one year, 65 otherwise. 82, 82, 81, 76, 81, 65, 82, 82, 62, 80, 82, 80. Just goes on and on. Even his last 2 years, 80 and 74.
He never took, in that era, they never took, what do they call that?
Load management?
Load management nights off. I mean, to this day, I think that is so much BS. Load management. And now, when they travel, LA still had to go to New York to play. The Knicks were still there and all this stuff. They had cross-country trips, and the planes weren't quite as fast back then as they are now. And they weren't as comfortable then as they are now. So this load management is a bunch of BS, I think, because they're still playing 82 games, and they had back-to-back games back then. And so there's so many differences in the game now that you just have to accept. But again, the game is, still a 10-foot basket, and the ball has so much air in it, type of thing, and the court's still the same size.
Well, unless you're the women's court from that last, I don't know if you saw that. There was, it's kind of a joke, but in the women's, I think it was the women's game last week.
Somebody was measuring something.
The 3-point line, there was a little discrepancy in between the two. So not always the same sometimes.
Well, maybe.
But maybe that's what we should do. Like baseball, different field lengths. Hey, different courts.
Different. Home run fences, outfield walls are different. This, that, and the other thing. But bases are still the same distance. But there are some subtle differences in the game now and then. And everybody talks about LeBron. And great player. I'll take nothing away from him. He's one of the greatest of all times. But again, the way he dominates the ball versus guys like Kareem that couldn't dominate the ball. They got it and did what they did with it. They didn't stand out there and pound it. And then 8 seconds left, they'd start making a move to the basket. Well, he's already held it for 10 seconds. Now with 8 seconds left, he's going to make a move to the basket. That's 18 or 20 seconds in this possession. He's handled the ball. Kareem, if he had it for 5 in a possession, that's a lot of time. So points per second of handling the ball, I think would be I'd love to see that. I don't know how you'd figure that out, but it would be fun to see.
Well, I mean, when you're almost describing the way Luka plays now too.
It's a different game.
I mean, I know I mentioned the other day, there was a play and it was a sweet shot, but it was isolation. It's a lot of ISO ball now.
Oh yeah.
And he's outside by the 3-point line doing his dribbling and all that. And 8-10 seconds, whatever it was, and then he kind of gets a step by the guy follows him and he finger rolls it from like inside the 3-point, and he made it, and everybody's like, what a great, and I'm like, I'd have gotten chewed out.
Oh yeah.
If I would have done,
we'd have been on the bench if he'd have tried to do that.
But
that's what these guys are paid to do. The game is so much different, and it's just Well, for me, it's not as much fun to watch. It
Hmm.
really isn't.
Hmm.
I mean, the teamwork and the passing, some of these teams, but the 3-point shot, you have to appreciate the players are being told to play a different game. It's not that they want to, it's that, well, maybe they do, but that's what they've been growing up to do.
Hmm.
That 3-point line is sacred.
Yep.
And if you can shoot from outside the 3-point line, you got a career. Just like looking how many guys are going to make the NBA from college ranks. And is Zach Edey from Purdue going to be one of them?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Maybe 25, 30 years ago he would have,
Oh, he'd have been a number one choice. But now
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see if he gets drafted. I mean, you look at Kofi Coburn, who played for Illinois, the big guy that played Illinois the last few years. He's gone. I think he's playing in Greece someplace. He didn't get much of a shot, if any,
Hmm.
at the NBA. And I don't know why Edey would be any different.
Hmm. Yeah. As somebody had even mentioned, this is gonna be like the first time, maybe would they say even a large one, that the title game might have 2 7-footers in it
Yeah, that's
potentially.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's
going
like,
to be interesting to see this North Carolina State Purdue game because that big kid that plays in the center for North Carolina State, I think he's only about 6'9" or something like that. Well, that's a big man, but Edie's 7'4".
hmm
And so, how are you going to shoot over the top of Edie? I think it's going to be interesting to see what the North Carolina State coach can come up with as far as an option.
yeah.
Because let's face it, that kid put him in the Final Four.
Yeah.
You know, other than some of the other guys that helped him, but he was the driving force beating Duke in that game.
Yeah. So, we'll talk some college hoops coming up here in a little bit. I got part of that is receive or defer, but let's take a quick break and we'll talk some Bucks. How concerned are you right now with the Milwaukee Bucks with just 6 games left to go in the regular season, still as the 2 seed, but now back-to-back losses against 2 teams who weren't are officially eliminated from the postseason? That would be Memphis and Washington the other night. So we'll take a quick break and we'll talk some Bucks coming up after these quick words. couple more picks. We've got a John Stockton pick from Big Worm over there. We've got Kirby Puckett as well. So keep them coming. Just kind of changing it up a little bit. See if we've missed anybody out
It's
there.
hard to,
Best
how do you define
underrated.
Yeah, how do you define the best underrated? I mean, are these guys underrated? Stockton leading assists, Kirby Puckett, winning World Series. I think they're.
I think a lot just depends on the age, your age,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
the generation.
And it depends on what kind of a pedestal you're trying to put them on. The greatest of all time, or just, what kind of recognition are you really talking about?
Mm-hmm. Would Larry Bird kind of be approaching there, you think?
I thought you mentioned Larry Bird earlier, and I was thinking about that, maybe in the first blurt out of your mouth, he wouldn't be there.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about it, on so many levels, he was so great that eventually, you got to come back, you got to circle back and say, yeah, he's the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one that kept popping through my head a little bit,
Yeah,
too.
when you mentioned him earlier, that crossed my mind of Larry Bird. I mean, he was more of a colorful player than he got credit for. He really was. And there's no question how good he was. I mean, how great he was. It just, he doesn't get, I think he is definitely one of those that doesn't get the credit he deserves.
Yeah. So keep those coming. We'll get back to some more. Speaking of hoops, 2 losses in a row in 2 days now for this Bucks team as they start to wrap up the regular season here. How concerned are you with this Bucks team right now, kind of trending as they get closer to the postseason? They're holding on to a 1.5 game lead over the Cavs for second place in the Eastern Conference. The Magic are just 2 back. Knicks 2.5 back here. Things ain't going to get easier for the Bucks coming up here. They got Toronto tomorrow, but then Knicks, Boston, Orlando, Oklahoma City, Orlando. Boston will be interesting to see how they play that one. Orlando's playing for positioning. The Knicks are playing for positioning. The Oklahoma City Thunder are playing for positioning for the top spot in the Western Conference. So Milwaukee ain't going to be going up against teams, again, depending on Boston, ain't going to be going up against teams like they would be going up against this week, and they can't even win this week now.
And I don't know what's wrong with this team. I think Lillard was out, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's been out the last couple of days, but still,
that makes a difference. But still, Memphis, you can't lose to Memphis. You can't lose to Washington.
Yeah.
It just can't happen. So I don't know what's really going on with this team. They're just, they're just off. And I don't know what it is, but they let these teams stay in the game. Yeah. Now I watched Boston play. I think it was last night, and they were playing. Who were they playing?
OKC.
Yeah, and they always kept OKC at arm's length. You could see which team was better. With the Bucks, I don't know which team's better. Even against some of these teams like Memphis and Washington, this is not a team that's that's laying their will on all these teams, which they should be. They should be, okay, we'll play you, but don't expect us to treat you well. The Bucks are leaving these teams too much slack, and they're beating the Bucks, and it's not a good trend right now. I'm a little bit, I will be honest, I'm a little bit nervous about the Bucks even getting out of the first round. I hope it doesn't go back to like the Miami situation during COVID. But right now, this team is not gelling, and this is a lot. There's only a few games left, and it's still Lillard's out nursing injury, but still in all year long, have they gelled with Lillard and with Giannis? And Middleton, of course, was hurt for most of the year, out most of the year, but they don't seem to have come together yet. And time's running out for that to happen.
I feel like this is a team, I was watching the game against Washington. It just felt like that was a team that was getting out-hustled, outran, throughout the gym. And that's a younger Washington team. And something we've talked about quite a bit ever since Doc Rivers has taken over. He has really played the veterans on this team, and you don't really see Andre Jackson Jr., a part of the younger guys outside of AJ Green for a few minutes. And even last night, Doc said, he's concerned a little bit with Giannis's health, and he said there was times where It looked like he was just running on fumes, and you kind of wonder now. It's like, well, that's why I wanted them to kind of wrap things up here and get that 2 seed so they could rest these guys before the postseason. But the rotation, if they're using all these veterans right away, you got to wonder, are they kind of just running on fumes now? And these younger teams running up and down the court because that Washington game, that's what it looked like to me. They were just in transition, out hustling them. I mean, when you have a Washington team that shot 20 some percent from three, but overall from the field was over 50. What does that tell you? They were getting up and down the court and dominating inside the paint and, mid-range game there. And it was kind of the same last night again, too.
Yeah,
And
and you know what they say in the playoffs, what coaches do, they shorten
shorten
their
that
bench.
bench. Yep.
And that means fewer guys are going to see action. So they haven't seen action in the regular season. The younger guys are definitely not going to see action in the postseason. I don't know what the answer is, but it's not a good trend right now for the Bucks.
And that's Giannis has been dealing with Achilles tendonitis, hamstring issues, and now you got,
And you're
Doc
asked to
even.
play more minutes in the playoffs because of that short bench. That's not helping that situation.
No. So I'm when I factor all that in and Dame dealing with a groin injury and that I'm concerned. There's no doubt. I'm definitely concerned leading into this postseason, momentum wise, health wise, all that stuff.
Oh, you have to
Um,
be because right now you look at Boston and who's going to beat Boston.
yeah, it's
I mean, Jason Tatum, if they don't talk much about him being the most valuable player, but to me, he's the most valuable player in the league this year. He's controlling the tempo. He can score almost at will. He's not spectacular, but boy, I'll tell you, he's there every night,
mhm.
and he's on every night. He doesn't have off nights.
That's the thing is like when he's on, he is like you can't slow it down.
Mm-mm.
You just like when he's on from key, no, you're good.
And he does it so easily. You watch him do this, and think, how did he do that?
Hmm.
He's really, really talented.
Yeah, he's played 71 games to this year
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
71. He doesn't miss a lot of time. So, no, my level of concern on a 1 through 10, I'm at about up 7,
Oh, I'm all of that.
you know.
I'm even maybe an 8
Yeah.
because I just this things aren't boding well for the Bucks right now. Maybe they'll figure a way to finish, but they got to be nervous about finishing second.
Just hopefully they can kind of kick that gear in and turn it on when it gets to the postseason and that, kind of a la Spurs back in the day where it seemed like they just tried to coast through the regular season and turned it on in the postseason. But I'm a big believer in momentum right now, and momentum is not on that Buck side, not even close. And
No, not after losing to those two teams.
I just, man, I don't know how to gauge this next. This is gonna be a tough final 6 games here, and I was really hoping that they were gonna be able to at least the last couple games rest their guys and get those young guys out there and just let them eat up minutes.
Yeah,
So
and you look at the final standings and maybe well, it's always nice to finish as high as you can, but maybe the opponent would be a little easier if you finish third. You don't know. And as far as matchups are concerned,
that's the thing too, is because remember the top 2, they play a play-in
yep.
winner. You don't know who you're playing right away. Third, you'd be playing the 6th seed. But the wild card in this whole thing too is like what I would like because Joel Embiid's coming back.
He came back with a vengeance the other
Yeah,
night.
yeah. If you want it, I'd still pick them to win, but somehow if you can figure out Boston has to play Philly in the first round just to kind of wear them down a little bit there. But if you're Boston, you're like, crap, we got to play Philly for the
Yeah.
first time.
Oh yeah. It's with Embiid, that's a completely different
Completely
team.
different.
Because
Completely.
Maxi's a great player.
Hmm.
And without Embiid, he's really felt his oat, so to speak.
Yep.
And Tobias Harris is a great player. They got some good players, but Embiid brings it all together.
Hmm. Yep. All right, let's take a quick break and we're going to do some receive or defer. Before that, we've got a Gary Payton pick, Illini Greg, in the same way as Kareem staying the man for the Cardinals. People now don't realize just how good he was. I'll take the 3 and 4 start for the Redbirds out west. Let's take a break and we'll wrap up the second hour after these quick words. All right, wrapping up the second hour with a little receive or defer this morning. I'll give you the honor to lead it off here, sir.
All right, receiver defer, and this is something we would have talked about even a year ago. Receiver defer. The women's Final Four will outdraw the men's as far as viewers.
You kind of stole mine there a little bit
did I?
too,
Okay.
but I'm going to receive it.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch this.
I am too,
especially UConn and Iowa.
Look at, I don't know if you saw these numbers or heard these numbers of what that LSU and Iowa game drew in terms of ratings wise. Let me see if I can find it up here.
It was over 12 million people or something.
It was over 12. This is what it beat. 12.3 million viewers. The 2023 NBA Finals, the 2023 World Series, the Orange Bowl, the Big Ten Championship, Cotton Bowl, Pac-12, Big 12 Championships, ACC Championships, Peach Bowl, every Thursday night football game. Yeah, beat an NFL thing. And every college football regular season game except one, Ohio State versus Michigan.
There you go.
It beat all of those, that Iowa LSU game.
And rightly so. It was a fun game to watch.
It lived up to the hype, right?
Yeah, it did. It really did. And I congratulate them for doing what they're doing.
Yep. I'm excited for that Iowa UConn game. You got star power in there with Caitlin and Paige, and whoever wins that one's. South Carolina. I'm picking South Carolina to beat NC State. That's going to be a prime game there too, with the dominance of South Carolina, what Dawn Staley has done with that program, whether it's UConn or whether it's Iowa. It's, to me, and this was kind of what I was going to ask, but yeah, receiver defer, is the women's college game more exciting than the men's right now?
Well, if you can keep players like Caitlin Clark in it, and this little gal from USC, Southern Cal, JJ, I forgot her last name, but she's a great basket. These kids, the top of the women's game, are getting basketball skills like we're used to seeing. They're shooting jump shots, so not shooting push shots from the 3-point line, because that's what a lot of the girls still do. It's a push shot. It's not really a jump shot. Well, some of them now are starting to evolve into, the game that we're used to seeing. And so I think it is attracting more people. It's kind of exciting. And some of these gals have an attitude too. I mean, they really go in there and it's not a tea party. You better go in there and be ready to battle, because these young ladies are there to win. They're athletes. They're playing. They're not, their soccer mom isn't saying, "Oh, somebody pushed my little Susie." Little Susie's getting more than pushed in college women's basketball nowadays.
Yeah, Juju Watkins, you were thinking of.
Yeah, Juju Watkins. Yeah, I watched her play in the regional finals, and great player, but just unfortunately didn't make it. But you look for her to come along in the next few years.
Yep. And I think it helps too, because for the college side, was it they can't go to WNBA unless they're 22, I think is so they got a little bit, it's not like the NBA where, that's, guys are leaving and left and right and all that sort of stuff there too. But, and you really haven't heard a whole lot, at least I haven't, transfer portal for women's basketball, top players kind of moving all around as much as the men's over there.
There's some of that, but Angel Reese went from Maryland to LSU, and there's some of that, but not.
And the other one who played on LSU from Louisville to LSU.
Yep. There's some movement, but not nearly as much as the men's. And I don't know what NIL means for a lot of those young ladies that play college basketball. Obviously, Caitlin Clark is off the charts, but for the rest of them, I'm not sure what NIL is available to them. Hopefully, they're making some money.
Yeah. Yep. But it's good to see, and I hope the WNBA. Because they're going to get Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese declared for the draft. They're going to get a lot. Paige is coming back for another year, but she'll be there. There's a lot of star power, and hopefully they utilize that the right way and, get that attention over there too.
Yeah, so. I think so too. And I think they deserve it. These young ladies play hard, they practice hard, and they deserve the attention.
Yep. So, all right, what else you got?
Okay, receiver defer. It's time now in men's basketball especially to move the 3-point lines further back in both college and the pros.
Why not? I don't think it's going to hurt a lot of those.
No,
A
that's
lot
what
of
I
those
mean.
guys
their guys are shooting from the
from the logo.
as
Yeah.
they say now. But I also think it would put the big men back a little bit more into the game, because now it's AAU ball. First guy across half court shoots it,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you're more successful when the ball goes in and comes back out. It doesn't come back out now because it never goes in. They come across and they're playing on the 3-point line, that swing offense, and that's why Wisconsin is what they are. Not very good because they don't have shooters from the 3-point line. You can't shoot from the 3-point line, you're in trouble. But so many of them are focused on that now. I think it's time to move them back.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we're the two old guys in the front yard yelling, but I just don't like the style of basketball
No,
right
I don't
now.
either. I don't either. I don't think in high school you need to move it back.
Right.
But I think in the pros and at the college level, it needs to go back.
Mm-hmm.
How far, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think it's, you watch these pros especially, and it's nothing for these guys. I mean, they're shooting high percentage from the 3-point line. But I don't think what's the strategy nowadays for these coaches? It's, we need to score 3-pointers to win. Well, that's fine. That's right. There's, 3 points are worth more than 2. I mean, even I can figure that out. But still, what strategy? You don't see any kind of, what kind of offense are these teams running? It's all on the outside. And
Well,
so I think the game would be better. Strategy would be amped up a little bit.
It's the point now. I'll use him as an example like I usually do. Hudson now has been asking me who's the best 3-point shooting center in the league right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, when I was a kid, I never would have imagined a center, The only big guy I knew as a kid shooting threes was like Sam Perkins, shooting them straight on that way.
Yeah.
And now he's like, because he sees Dame shooting it from almost half court. Was he doing our driveway? He takes it with one hand and trying to chuck it as far as he can to try to make a 3-pointer.
Yeah,
So,
you get into some bad habits when you start shooting that 3-pointer too little.
Yep, exactly. Do you have another one?
No, go ahead.
I thought you'd have a few over there. Receiver defer outside, taking Euchre out of this equation. Receiver defer right now in the current state of Wisconsin for sports figures. Does Pat Murphy have the highest Q rating?
Boy, I don't know.
Or is it still Giannis, even though the Bucks are struggling?
Yeah, because I don't think Luke Fickle is there yet.
Nope. Is it J Love?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously not Greg Gard
at
this point in time. But
because if Euchre's in this, we would all say it's Euchre, right?
Yeah, absolutely,
100%. So,
well, LaFleur, I think, is more than Murphy at this point. I think depending on how Murphy does as we get further into the season, and if he can take him to the playoffs. But I think after what LaFleur and the Packers did this year, making the playoffs, winning a game in the playoffs, should have won 2 in the playoffs. I think LaFleur still has a higher profile. I think Jordan Love also has a higher profile than Murphy right now.
Jackson Churio?
Well, it's
still young.
Still too young. He's only got 1 home run. Let's not put him in the same category as Ken Griffey Jr. yet.
Oh, man. I mean, there was an article the other day on Brewers.com where they were asking his teammates, who does this guy remind you of? And they were already throwing out Cunha Jr. and Julio Rodriguez. I'm like, okay, just don't go to that. Yeah. I love the optimism, but let's still just turn 20. So
yeah, I know. And you just before the break, you were talking about, those that not given the greatness that they deserve. I disagree with it. Whoever said Stan Musial, he gets all he's right at the top, and he gets that credit for being one of the best hitters ever in baseball. It's obviously a Cardinal fan, but and rightly so. That's the way he thinks. But I disagree with that. I think Stan Musial's given a lot of credit for being, he and Ted Williams, the best, given credit for being 2 of the best hitters ever in baseball.
Stan the man.
Yeah, pure hitters. I mean, we talk about guys like Ken Griffey and the different ones. They were more 5-tool players, but just pure hitters. There haven't been many better than Stan Musial and Ted Williams.
I'd be curious. I know we got a few Cardinals fans. Who do they view as the best Cardinals baseball player of all time? Would it be Stan? Does Pujols get in there, that equation? Even
Bob Gibson.
Bob Gibson.
Yeah, there.
Ozzy, I know, was in there for
Yeah,
some,
but I
but
don't think Ozzy would be up
he was a
there.
lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he used to run out to the dugout. I remember watching him one time playing in Milwaukee, and he'd run out of the dugout and do a somersault on his way to the shortstop.
Yeah,
So
backflips and all
yeah,
that too.
yeah, he could do all that sort of stuff. But I don't know if it'd be Pujols or if it'd be Stan Musial or Bob Gibson. They've had some great players there, no question about it. All-time greats. Bob Gibson might be. I'd consider Bob Gibson getting less credit as a great player than Stan Musial by far. You know.
Yeah. Hey, receiver defer, because I know we've talked about this before, but we did have one earlier in the week. Receiver defer. No hitters don't really bring any prestige anymore to the game of baseball.
No, they really don't. Unfortunately, they don't, because we've had one already, haven't we?
Yeah, Houston.
Yeah, I missed it
earlier in the week.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
But you don't. That was it. It was like a blip, and then all right, move on.
Yeah, it used to be there were headlines and papers for 2 or 3 days, and no, I agree with you. They don't get the attention they used to.
And the reason I bring this up, because I thought it was an interest, again, to take away from Dan Patrick when they were talking about that no hitter, and I know we've talked about it, but they threw out Greg Maddux never had a no hitter. Roger Clemens never had a no hitter. So does that almost ruin or tamper, I should say, the legacy? Some of the greatest pitchers of all time have never even had a no hitter, but you look at some of the no hitters, like who?
They're all flukes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And does that tarnish it a little bit when some of the greats have never even had that?
I think it's a factor. Yeah, it's a good point. I think it does bring into the equation, and these guys like Maddox and Clemens have went to the mound a whole lot more than I don't know who this guy was for Houston, but
It was like his ace start.
Yeah, and I don't know how many starts he's going to have in his career, but I don't think he'll have near as many as Clemens or Maddox.
Yeah.
And so for those guys never to have a no hitter, yeah, I think it does. No hitter is just one game in your career. These guys were good for whole seasons and their whole careers. Pitching 300 innings, winning 200 games, striking out how many players, winning so many postseason games. So yeah, I agree. I don't think the no hitter is near what it used to be.
It was this. I'm sure some people know Barstool Sports and all that, but they had and this is something I know you and I have talked about before in the past, but they did a fun little draft of the unbreakable sports records, and the number one pick was Cy Young's 749 complete games. Just think about that. I can't even think about that because I just
was it Cy Young had 500 and some wins or something?
He had three, and then 316 career losses on there too. But and then 511 wins.
Yeah,
just unbelievable.
Yeah, those numbers, that's unbreakable. And DiMaggio's record, and there are some of those from the old days that were just that's the way they were. They didn't. I don't know how fast he threw, Cy Young threw. I don't know how many pitches he had. Now they're throwing pitches that are so hard on the arm and the shoulder and the elbow. I don't know what he did. I mean, you look at old Dizzy Dean. He was a famous Cardinal too that doesn't get. He might be one of the best pitchers that doesn't get a lot of credit nowadays as well. Old Diz.
Yeah, but I was looking at some of these and it's just like
they're mind-boggling to think of what this day and age is. Can you imagine how much money Cy Young had signed for? I mean, Shohei Ohtani would look like a pauper.
Yeah. It's oh my goodness. Ed Walsh had 464 innings pitched. Walter Johnson 110 shutouts. It's unreal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Some of those numbers are boggling. I mean, same thing. Warren Spahn had some unbelievable records. How many complete games he had, and it's just
I can't get over.
They were Iron Men back then. I don't know why or how they could do it and stay healthy versus these guys today that their load management or whatever happens, they tweak muscles here and there. And it always does amaze me why these modern athletes are, I don't want to use the word softer, but more prone to injuries or needing rest than these old guys did. Because if you got hurt, like a Cy Young, if he got hurt, I can't imagine he could have kept pitching that well for that long to win that many games, pitch that many innings.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. 749.
And you can bet back then they didn't have trainers. like they do now, and the
No.
medical staff and the medical equipment to handle all the
Well, they were probably
injuries.
smoking a cig and having whiskey in the clubhouse after games,
That's probably smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
probably were. Maybe that was the best medicine.
probably, but golly.
Yeah,
I'm trying to find who's like the current active leader just to give the gap of everything.
I'm
And
sure it'd be like a Verlander or somebody like that that's been around for a while, but still, their numbers pale in comparison to what a
yeah,
Cy Young or Warren Spahn or Carl Hubble or
I mean, even
you know,
Nolan Ryan's
yeah.
222. It's yeah, I'll see if I can find it coming up here. So, all right, we've got two in, one more to go. Bottom of the hour, we've got Jake Bolks going to be joining us. Last call for any questions for our outdoor tidbits. Hit us up with a text 715-830-1912. We'll be back after these news updates. third and final hour kicking off this morning on this Thursday morning. Hey, big thanks everybody for tuning in, participating as well. Appreciate that. Hit us up with some text at 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, or on Twitter. Get the video stream. Also, you can hit us up on Facebook too. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we'll catch up with Jake Boakes, our DNR warden buddy, answering your questions for this Thursday edition of Outdoor Tidbits. So we'll get to that. So we'll get back to some more baseball talk. Brewers off day today, as they get set to take on the Mariners of Seattle starting tomorrow for a 3-game series. And then the Brew Crew is going to be on the road for about a week. And they've got 4 games at Cincinnati, 3 games at Baltimore before returning home to face the Padres for a 3-game series on the 15th. And this is the last off day for the Crew, too, up until April 18th. So we'll have plenty of games. Then looking at the schedule here, and they got another long stretch of continuous games there too, up until May 2nd. It looks like. So we'll get back to some more baseball talk. But the question we've been kind of throwing out there: first week now into the season here. What's your first week takeaways? Whether you're a Brewers fan, Cubs fan, Cardinals fan, Twins fan, whatever the case may be, what is one thing maybe you learned about your team in the first week of the season? Wide majority for Brewers fans going out there saying aggressive on the base paths, stealing bases. That's kind of been I shouldn't say kind of, it has been the most popular pick out there. So also I kind of throw out there, we're 3 weeks away from the NFL draft. If you had to give me your pick, the guy you would like to see the Packers get with that first pick, who would it be? Your 3-week thought, your 3-week pick, if you will. Cooper DeJean has been out there. That's been the most popular pick, the defensive back from Iowa. We've had a couple of offensive linemen thrown out there. Graham Barton from Duke was also mentioned into this too. So if you haven't had a chance to send me your picks, who would that be? Your 3-week pick right now. Who would be that guy? As we are 3 weeks away from the first round of the NFL draft, which I feel kind of I know a lot has been going on, NCAA tournaments and baseball season starting and such. Maybe it'll kind of kick into gear here a little bit closer. I feel like it's been kind of quiet though coming out of Detroit. That's where the draft's at. Feels like it's been kind of quiet coming out of there. Maybe not a lot of attention to it right now because of everything else going on, but we're only 3 weeks away, man. And then after that, Green Bay's officially on the clock for their draft. So we'll get to some more of your picks coming up here. Bucks falling last night to the Heat, or to the Grizzlies last night. They got 6 more games left in the regular season here. They'll be back at it against Toronto tomorrow. I found out who the active leader is in complete games.
Who's that?
It is Verlander. Take a guess what his number is at.
Does he have 50?
Half that, 26.
Really?
26 is the current active leader.
I think, some of these older guys had more than that in one season.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a different game. You can't
criticize
these guys because, they're managed that way.
Yep.
And, and you look at Verlander and Scherzer, they've all had arm problems.
Yep.
They're all out.
Yep.
You'd like to track the career of some of these guys like Carl Hubble and Cy Young and Bob Feller and Warren Spahn, how much arm trouble they had and how many times they missed because of sore shoulders or elbows or whatever the case may be. But it's just a different world. I mean, you can't. The frustrating thing is that, these guys are making so much money now. And I don't care whether it's basketball or baseball, whatever the case may be. And they're taking this load management stuff. I think they're taking that to an extreme, this load resting or whatever they call it.
And I think the part to relate to that though too is I think teams are worried about overdoing it, so they get hurt, and then fans want to go see these, networks want to air these games, but then if they're hurt because for whatever reason you lose money that way, it's a
But are they
catch
playing?
22.
But are these guys? Anytime they tweak something, are they taking time off? Back then you play hurt, but you don't play injured.
Hmm.
You don't play with an injury, but you play with some hurts. And I don't think these guys nowadays play with as many hurts as the guys did years ago.
I play hurt every Thursday morning with you. I'm just
Well, you come ready to play too. That's good.
we had Illini Greg with his top 5 Cardinals. Timmy, I know Timmy. We got a listener, Timmy, who's a big Cardinals fan. I'll be curious to see who his top 5 Cardinals are. But he's got Stan 1, Albert 2, Gibby 3, Roger Hornsby 4, Ozzy 5.
Pretty nice top 5.
Yeah, right. No kidding. Did say we know Stan was great, but he was saying the kids now don't kind of like
No,
Kareem.
exactly.
So,
That's
yep.
exactly right. The kids nowadays only know what they can get on their device. They're not.
Their top third baseman might be A-Rod.
Yeah, right.
You
Might
know,
be.
that I'm trying to think of another one that would be.
They don't as many. There are still some that do, but not as many as when you were growing up, especially when I was growing up, that really understood and appreciated the game because the game is so different. I mean, it used to be,
Mhm.
I knew every Brave on the roster, most of the Cubs, a lot of the Cardinals, but these rosters turn over so much now.
Yeah.
You don't, and you can't expect the kids to follow that like we did.
Mhm.
I mean, we all had baseball cards. That was really important to us to have our baseball cards. You get on for a nickel, every nickel you got, you cherished.
Yep.
You went down to the grocery store and you bought your little nickel package with a little piece of bubble gum in it and 2 or 3, 4 baseball cards in it. And kids nowadays have other priorities.
Mhm. It is cool to see. I know Hudson's really is into cards now, so that's kind of giving me flashbacks to when
Yeah, good.
we were, but it was still different back in the day too. You'd get packs now. You can just buy whoever you want.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah,
You know?
that's why. You go in there and they were all in a box, and
Mhm.
now which one's going to have Hank Aaron and which one's going to have Mickey Mantle in it, and you just and oh no, I got Johnny Logan and some of these guys that were good, but they weren't collectors.
I remember one time I was down. Me and a friend went to the Ben Franklin in Medford because that's where they had the cards,
Yep.
and we picked out a pack. I can't remember who picked. We picked the same pack. I don't know who picked first or what, but I opened mine up first, and that was during an era where they had it was called rookie reprints, so they
Mhm.
reprinted, and I got Dr. J, and I was like, oh sweet, I was pumped. He had Jordan.
Oh boy.
I was
Yeah,
so pissed.
and different when I was a kid, more so than you were a kid, you didn't have all these varieties of
Yeah.
cards. You had basically one.
Yep.
And that was the baseball card. Now you got different companies that put out baseball cards and
And
it
there's
was always
so
fun to,
many, so it
yeah,
kind of
so,
devalues it
yeah,
a bit.
exactly. Where's the value?
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's just, but it's cool. I mean, this is where Hudson's schooling me on these random NBA players now. Like I have no idea who. I'll be honest, I have no idea who these are. Like last night, he was watching the Bucks game. He's like, so and so isn't playing for Memphis. I'm like, who?
Yeah.
I'm like, and he gets mad at me, and he's like, but you're a sports broadcaster. You should know that. And I'm like,
No, it's a different world out there.
like he asked me the other day, who's the 6th best Miami Heat player? He knew. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. But you gotta admit you gotta be into it to do that sort of thing. And obviously he's into it. But
And the cards, I think, help that too because
yeah, absolutely.
because I would always, as a kid, I don't know if you did something weird like this with cards, but like I would always memorize for whatever reason their height because I always knew Shaq was 7'1". I always knew Penny was 6'7". I always knew Jordan was 6'6". Scotty was like I think 6'8". I don't know why I just ran. And I remember talking to my 3rd grade teacher, and he collected cards, and that's how he liked math so much was stats because of cards. Then I'm like, yeah, I would have loved if I had a teacher teach me. And I hated math, but if they used it as a card, I probably would have liked it a little bit more. But
Yeah, it's all in their teaching method, that's for sure.
Mhm.
But those, the baseball cards were a highlight for a kid to get a nickel and go buy them.
Yep, exactly. And then, well, my day and age, it was probably $1, but still, I would That was my thing.
Oh yeah.
I'd go down to Ben Franklin, 10 cents. I need another page.
Yep.
Put them in that way. So the good old days. Do they even have Ben Franklins around anymore?
I don't know. I can't recall seeing any of them recently.
I mean, you could find anything in a Ben Franklin store.
Oh, I know it. There's a lot of things that aren't around anymore that have been around for a long time, like Sacred Heart Hospital. Do they have one of those anymore? Nope.
Nope. So, all right. So, oh boy, that is. I'll see if I can send those pictures. Somebody sent a picture of a deer. I'll see if I can send those to Jake here. But okay, that just popped up on there. I don't know if that's shedding or what, but I'll send them over to Jake. So, anyways, Brewers off day today. What has been some of the things that stood out to you in the first week? A lot of you going with the stolen bases, being aggressive on the base paths over there. A couple of you have mentioned the start for Christian Yelich as well, 2 home runs for him. A couple of you have mentioned Rhys Hoskins. I think you even mentioned Rhys Hoskins over there too. He's definitely bringing a fiery personality.
That's what people have told me. Like I said, I yesterday was the first time I really had a chance to pay any attention to any of their games so far, the first 5. And they lost, but still 4-1. I'm happy with that. So I know different people have told me that, well, they think Rhys Hoskins was a good pickup because he's putting a little energy, fire, whatever term you want to use, in the clubhouse, in this roster. And, maybe you get some young kids that might be a little timid, but he's not letting them be timid. You're major leaguers now. You better get out there and get her done.
Yep. Yeah, it started off in the Met series with a little slide, and Jeff McNeil took offense to the slide, and they had a little benches clearing discussion, and Reese kind of doing the wah signs to him and that. So
yeah, I haven't seen any of that, but
that's
that's one thing, because that's not something you're going to get out of Yelich. He's just not that kind of a guy, and you can't blame him for that. It's just the way he is. But you get a guy like Rhys Hoskins that will, put a little energy, quote unquote, into that roster. That's good.
And I honestly think that's a reflection on the personality of the manager a little bit too. Pat Murphy's got a little bit more energy, as we've said. He's going to be a little bit more vocal, maybe entertaining than what Craig Counsell was.
And maybe he told Rhys Hoskins, "You're coming in here as a veteran. We need you to be a leader and fire these guys up and do some of that stuff." And so we'll see how it goes. We got a long way to go. We've only got 5 games in, so there's a long way to go. But boy, 100 games, man, I don't know.
I would hope, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that one.
No,
I would hope.
Not with the pitching. I don't think the pitching is sterling enough at this point to expect that.
Yeah. So, you're looking at, other people have kind of mentioned Freddie Peralta. Freddie Peralta did get off to a really good start. You want to know something? Since you probably don't know this, I'll give you this little nugget here from Freddie Peralta's start. Uh-oh. What? Oh, never mind.
Did he start the opening game? Opening day?
Yes, he did start opening. I thought we had a Packers thing there, but that was somebody messing with something on Twitter there. So he had a one hit shutout on opening day. Brewers overall 1 hit, or not 1 hit shutout, 1 hit, 1 run, because he gave up 1 home run. But that was it. Just Brewers overall gave up just 1 hit on opening day, and it was that solo shot from Sterling Marte. But you want some fun nuggets with that, and just the job that Chris Hook, the pitching coach, has done for the Brew Crew since where is it at here?
Now, is he a new coach? Or?
No, he's been around since 2019.
Okay.
But he's been within the system minor league since 2008.
Yeah.
So that opening day 1-hitter or less, that is the Brewers' 11th 1-hitter or less since Chris Hook took over as pitching coach in 2019, most in Major League Baseball.
Good deal.
I would never have guessed that.
I never would have either.
It's also the 5th one that was completed by Freddie Peralta, started by Freddie Peralta.
Well, he's tampering with history there, 1 hit.
5 1-hitters that he started. That's when I saw that, I'm like, wow. Because pitching coach, I mean, over the years, remember Derek Johnson was a pitching coach right before him, and everybody loved Derek Johnson for the job he did.
Yeah, and then he went to Cincinnati to go home.
Yep, and he's still over at Cincinnati.
Mhm.
And I know the first year, a lot of people were angry with or not liking Chris Hook, but you look at some of those numbers and you kind of look at what he's done with, well, Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta right now. That's pretty amazing. That's pretty good. Here's another one. Teams to throw an opening day one-hitter, 9-inning game in the expansion era, 1961, just 5. The 64 Angels, the 91 Expos, 2015 A's, the 2016 Mariners, who actually lost that game, and the Brewers.
Peralta pitched a complete game?
Team-wise, complete game.
Team-wise,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep. Teams to throw an opening day one-hitter, 9-inning game in the expansion era. So I hope
that's a good way to start the season, no question about that. And hopefully, you keep winning more series than you lose, you'll probably end up in pretty good shape at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So there was a lot of good stuff to come out of that opening day. Now we'll get to see Freddie Peralta for his second turn coming up tomorrow against the Mariners, who's got some young talent over there too. So, but yeah, I don't know why. It just feels like a different vibe, energy level with this team. I know it's only just 5 games in a weekend, but there just seems to be, and I think it's the mixture of the younger guys mixed in with some of the veterans like a Hoskins and Yelich and such. But and Murphy, I don't know. It still seems weird to see Murphy as manager because I mean, how many years of Craig Counsell, in the dugout there? But there just seems to be a different vibe about this. Pat Murphy's doing his pressers and he's got his like niece's kids with him. He's got kiddos up there at the table with him after games and having fun with that. I mean, the other day he told a reporter, because this reporter for Brewers.com had been missing some time due to health, and he's like, for your first question back, that's a pretty poopy question. Having fun with him that way, that sort of stuff. But it's kind of a breath of fresh air a little bit too. Not to diminish Craig Counsell, but it's
no. But let's face it, his personality isn't real outgoing.
Yeah,
and he's not an exciting type of a guy. Baseball knowledge second to none probably, but yeah, he's not a people person.
I mean, this is a guy too. He's at 65 years old. Probably going to be his last,
his last go round.
And I think he's just going in with a mindset of like, I'm going to do what I do and we'll see what happens. And, opening day, I was watching a little bit. Sophia Minert, was pregame interview and talking to him. And the final question to him was like, well, how you feeling? Excited. He's like, it's not about me. And the announcer said, that's typical Pat Murphy. It's never about him. It's always about the players.
And I think he's coming in too. He's got an advantage because most times organizations don't hire from within a new manager. Murphy has been around these guys for however long he's been there with Counsell on the bench. So he's got a kind of a jump start of knowing the young players, know what their tendencies is, watching those guys play. He knows Yelich, he knows Adames, he knows some of these other guys. And he knows that stadium. He knows the fan base. So he's not coming in from Arizona, so to speak, or Colorado from another team and trying to learn all this stuff. He had a lot of the learning already done from being with the Brewers and with Counsell and with these players for so many years as he's been there. And I think that's a real advantage too, because the players are naturally going to be more comfortable with somebody they know. You bring in somebody from a different system and a different team, and oh boy, what's this guy going to be like? And you go in there kinds of hesitant. They go to spring training, they know Murphy, they know what he's all about, and he knows them and what their skill levels are. I think that takes a lot of the learning curve away that they already know.
Yep, I agree. So it's been a lot of, and he's perfect in challenges too.
Is he?
He got 3 of them right yesterday.
3 of them?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know who's calling and all that, but can Green Bay hire them too to signal down to Matt LaFleur?
Yeah,
they got 3 of them right. One was really, really close. It was Ortiz made this sweet play. It was a little bit of a chopper hit, and he ran. I mean, it was so smooth. Glove, picked it out clean, chucked it down to first, and the guy I thought he was safe, and it was close. Like the camera looked like he got him out, but was there enough? And they said no, he was out, and it ended the inning. It saved a run there.
Sure.
But it was such a sweet move. But yeah, he was 3-0 in challenges yesterday.
Well, that's a good thing too.
So I don't know who's up in the booth and watching that. because they got to make that quick decision.
Yeah, they do.
They don't get 2 minutes to decide
Nope.
whether they're going to challenge or not. But yeah, he's undefeated in that area too.
Good for him.
I just hope whoever's doing that, maybe Matt LaFleur might want to call him and be like, okay,
we need your help.
we need your quick diagnosis down here too. So, but no, I love how those managers, like when it's a close play, they got to like hold their hand up and somebody's instantly on the phone right away, like trying to figure out it's just so quick.
Thinking back when I look at that, they spin their hands. In other words, they keep going, or
Murphy will do the headset to challenge it.
Hold your hand to your ears, challenge it. So
yep.
Good. Hope it continues that way. But 4-1 is a good start. The main thing is keep healthy. Then keep these guys healthy. They're not tweaking a hamstring or doing some other things that they can't play. When you stay healthy, you can get into a pattern, you can get into a routine, you can get into a system. But when you got to plug different guys in different spots because the other guys are injured, that takes a toll on the chemistry of the team.
Yep. All right. Let's take a quick break here. We'll get Jake. Thank you to all of you who have texted in your questions to Jake. I know we had some last minute ones there, so we'll see if Jake's going to be able to get to those. But a reminder, if you want to get those questions to Jake, you have to text us on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. Earlier the better, so we can get those to Jake over there. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back for our Outdoor Tidbits coming up in just a couple minutes.
Want to feel like you belong.
We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it.
We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers.
We are normal people just like you. But our part-time service in the Army National Guard means we get to be more.
When our communities are in need, we get the chance to stand up and do something about it.
We get to serve in our own region and help the people we call neighbors.
From the lakeshores of Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota,
the fertile fields of Indiana, Illinois, and Iowa, to the wide open plains of North and South Dakota.
We are here for our hometowns.
And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
This update is sponsored by UW Credit Union. For every stage of life, UW Credit Union is here for every you. During every Brewers home game, fans will have the chance to win the all-new 2024 Toyota Tacoma, courtesy of your Wisconsin Toyota dealers. Visit brewers.com/Toyota to enter. Join UW Credit Union at uwcu.org. Insured by NCUA.
Skilled trade workers are the backbone of every community, and also the Army National Guard. Soldiers trained to keep the power flowing, engines running, and in every other trade needed to accomplish the mission. These soldiers are on the fast track to learning skills that can set them up for success at home with companies looking to hire the best. Their resumes are being built through their paid training and part-time service. Find out how you too can learn a trade profession by visiting NationalGuard.com. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
When you want to eat, drink, or shop local, you could check a lot of sites, or you could see it all in one. AroundThe715.com. If it's going on in the Chippewa Valley, you're going to see it at AroundThe715.com. It's always a one-click spot for events during the week, events during the weekends, with or without the kids. Catch up on headlines from the 715 newsroom and shop the latest half-off deals too. All that and a lot more at AroundThe715.com. From the stations of Midwest Family Eau Claire.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Minimum purchase required. Interest accrues from date of purchase but is waived if paid within promotional period. Go to windowappointmentnow.com for full offer details.
Attention homeowners. Do you know when to replace your windows? Feeling too hot or cold? Fog between the glass? Spending too much on expensive energy that literally goes out the window? It's time to replace. And right now you can get a free in-home window consultation and free price quote from Renewal by Andersen. Plus with our spring savings event, you can buy one window or door and get one 40% off when you buy 4 or more units. Just text FRONT to 200-300 for your free consultation on top quality affordable windows or patio doors for no dollars down, no monthly payments, and no interest for a year. That's right, you don't pay a dime for an entire year. Text FRONT to 200-300 to buy one window or door and get one 40% off. And right now, save an extra $30 off every unit. Hurry, this incredible offer is only in April. Text FRONT to 200-300. Text the word FRONT to 200-300. FRONT to 200-300.
This update is sponsored by UW Credit Union. For every stage of life, UW Credit Union is here for every you. Fans, here's your quick trip to the ballpark ticket offer. Spend $200 at participating quick trip locations and get a free Terrace Reserve ticket to a 2024 Brewers home game. Check brewers.com/quick trip for more details. Join UW Credit Union at uwcu.org. Insured by NCUA.
Take a minute to check your social battery. How's it doing? Does the thought of social events make you feel excited or exhausted? It's easy to ignore our social batteries and spread ourselves thin, especially at this time of year when gatherings are picking up again after the winter. But it's important to find the right amount of socializing for you and still give yourself the time to recharge. Therapy can give you the self-awareness to build a social life that doesn't drain your battery. And when you are feeling worn out from socializing, therapy can help give you the tools you need to take care of yourself and recharge. Because a full battery is the key to a full life. BetterHelp offers affordable online therapy on a schedule that works for you. Connect with a licensed therapist by text, phone, or video call. Start the process in minutes and switch therapists anytime. Find your social sweet spot with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/right choice today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/right choice.
He's smart, informed, entertaining, and he knows his sports. In other words, he's the kind of guy I'd like to settle down with in a small, cozy cabin in the woods. That is, if he was a woman with a case of cold ones. The Dan Kasper Show, weekday mornings from 6 to 9. Answering your questions and giving you the tips you need to be successful and safe in the outdoors. It's time for your outdoor tidbits. Have a question you'd like answered by Jake? Send it to us, and we'll ask for you.
It is time for our outdoor tidbits with our DNR warden buddy, Mr. Jake Boakes, joining us. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
All right.
Another good Thursday morning.
Absolutely, dude. So we got a few questions to get to here. First off, you mentioned, let's start off because you mentioned there's some new laws regarding air guns, which this is actually the first time I've heard that. So can you give us a little bit of a background on that?
Yeah. So everything I saw came from a kind of a brief that we got from our legal team. The new rule is basically that any season in Wisconsin that allows a firearm season, so any season, squirrels, deer, whatever you can shoot a firearm with, you can now use an air gun. Or, an air gun can be like an air shotgun or an air rifle, stuff like that. And they basically signed a law. Governor Evers signed it like last week, I believe. Basically saying that anywhere you can use a rifle or a shotgun, you can use an air gun or an air shotgun. So we're still kind of figuring out exactly what that's going to look like and what's that going to be like. But it does give hunters a new option. I read the outdoor news yesterday, and it looks like there was some people in the public that worked with the governor's office to get that put into law. So, sorry, I got a train going by me. So it's another example of like the DNR doesn't always make the regulations. Sometimes it's the public and who you talk to and different things like that. So it kind of segues into like the spring hearings are next Monday. And if you have thoughts or comments or questions or want to change something, it's a really good opportunity to go in and let your voice be heard.
Right. Absolutely. Hey, Jake, we had a texter earlier also ask, I don't know if it's kind of maybe with the snow melting and people are able to get outdoors and walk around in the woods and such, but somebody had asked, what should I do happen, or no, that's an old one. If I find a deer carcass in the woods and it's clear the deer died of natural causes, do I have to report it like I would if I wanted to take a deer on the side of the road?
No. So there's two kind of different things. There's a state law that allows car kill, deer, turkey, and bear to be picked up for free. They changed it so you don't have to get like a tag from law enforcement. You just have to register it, call it in, register it as a car kill deer, and it's free. When it comes to finding something on your own property, when a deer is found deceased, whether it's private property or public property, and it's not, and you don't know how it died, or who killed it, like even if there's a gunshot in there, you're like, okay, it probably died from this gunshot. If you don't know who killed it or where it came from, technically per state law, the deer falls back to the property of the state because that person didn't harvest it or reduce it to their possession. So they do have to reach out to the local warden and get some sort of tag for that. Typically, if you find a deer that you want to utilize the meat for it and stuff, we can sell it for $10. The cheapest the state or the legislators let us up, $10, something like that, where we want good results. We'll sell it for the minimum $10. If you find a dead head, which a lot of people are this time of year, if you find the dead head and it's still got a bunch of meat and skin on it, that again, you have to give us a call because you got to get a possession authorization tag from us because, again, you're not the one that killed it or anything like that. You just found it, and you found it out of season. But if you do find one that is completely clean, they call it, like you find antlers connected to the skull and it's just the bone, like maybe a whiff of hair here and there, but it's just clean, that is actually considered like a shed, so you can take it at that point. But there can't be any meat or skin left on it.
Okay, that's maybe that was actually going to be my next question. If you found a dead head, but it was, completely clean, does that change things there too? Because I've been seeing some people on social media kind of posting them finding. I'm assuming they're going out there now with the snow melting and doing some shed hunting in it.
And people have definitely been out with this weird winter. But so you'll see pictures of antlers where the head's still attached, the skull's still attached, but clearly it's a couple years been dead and the meat's gone and it's bleached out. Like that you can have for free. But when you find that deer that died in October, December, or January, and clearly there's still just a bunch of fat and tissue and cartilage in it, then that's one that you got to call and get a tag for.
Right. And I know to the texter who may be listening who sent that picture, just a note, Jake has sent it to the wildlife biologist. You're just kind of waiting to hear back too. So, but thank you for sending those pictures.
Yeah, no, thanks for sending the pictures in. They're always great. You can always send them to the warden or the local biologist, and we're happy to answer questions on that one with the fur being all matted and weird and thicker in some areas. I can't tell. There's so many different diseases and things that I don't want to speculate on.
Right.
Not even like that they're bad necessarily. Sometimes it's just part of like the winter, just getting sick in the winter or getting some sort of parasite on the skin, stuff like that. But the biologists are the subject experts on that.
Yeah. I mean, I had 5 deer at the end of my driveway in town this morning. I had to start the truck to kind of kick them out of there. So remote start to get them out of there.
There are a lot of deer moving around, which is always a good thing. It's obviously a mild winter, and hopefully the deer and the turkeys and all the animals had a decent recovery or just a decent, easy life. So we'll see what that promulgates for the next year or upcoming years.
Did you have a question, quick intern? Or
yeah, Jake, we've got some snow and some rain recently. What's that done for fire permits or anything like that? We still want to be careful, obviously. It hasn't greened up yet, but has it changed the status of burning?
Yeah, I think in some of those areas where the townships or the state was restricting those burning permits, I think those are back to, open. You got to go get them. You got to have them, obviously, but they'll issue them. The fire danger went down a little bit with the amount of precipitation, and then, like the wind, it's been windy, but unlike the last time it was this windy, it's not, the humidity is not as low and it's not so dry. So I think it's kind of reset us for a little bit, which is nice because I know a lot of the forestry guys and whatnot were already on call back in February and March, which is crazy. but the rivers went up, which is also a good thing. It just, it helps the landscape when we get this precipitation. So if the water goes up and we got some water on the landscape and this and that, it helps the fish, it helps the animals, it helps obviously the fire risk. So something to monitor though as we keep going and depending on how the spring turns out.
Do you guys keep track of from year to year when the ice goes out as far as when the ice fishing season ends? You guys as rangers or forest management guys and lifestyle animal control, do you guys kind of put that in and around the state and figure that out? I was bowling a week ago and a guy said, yeah, last year the last day of ice fishing for me was April 28th. Well, that's a long way down the road yet, and we've been done with ice fishing for quite a while.
Right. I would imagine that there is, especially locally, because like fisheries departments in different parts of the state do different, fish studies. So like around here, they're getting ready for shocking and sturgeons, doing some sturgeon studies and stuff. So I would think like locally, they probably do have documents that kind of mark when the ice is going out and when they're starting to do their surveys and stuff like that. I don't know if the state as a whole kind of keeps like I don't know if you could go on the website and be like, 2002, when was the last ice out and this and that. So I'm sure there's the information. And again, as public employees, fisheries, forestry, wildlife, myself, you can always give us a call. And if you have general interest questions and stuff like that, we'll try to find that and answer that. And sometimes it's curious for us to know too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, Jake, and Jake's going to be in studio here in a couple weeks for us as we get ready for the fishing opener too. So we'll do a little bit of a deeper dive and have a lot more questions over there too. So.
Yeah. When I come in, I plan on bringing more on like that air gun stuff. There's some other changes that don't necessarily affect deer hunting, but they're just kind of open this up and kind of clean up some rules and stuff like that. The air gun thing is new. I just wanted to throw it out there because I saw it in the Outdoor News yesterday too. They did a good job of explaining the rules. It kind of just evens out everything, just evens out all the guns and how you can utilize them. As far as like, I'm going to get a lot of questions on if you're a felon, can you use them and stuff like that. And there are, it's not considered a firearm legally. So, they're going to be able to use them for different things. So we can talk about that more later too. And the last thing, I know you guys got to get going, I apologize, but that spring hearing, I mentioned it, but it is the first time the spring hearings are technically coming back since COVID. They're next Monday at 6:30. So if you want to come to your local counties and meet your biologists, meet your wardens, meet a bunch of the staff that's going to be there, they're going to be similar to the DNR open houses last year where everyone gives updates and talks about local events and stuff like that. But we'll also be reading through all of the spring hearing questions and stuff like that. So it's a good place to get answers and meet your local staff if you're interested.
All right. Good stuff there, Jake. Hey, we appreciate your time, buddy. And be safe out there, and we'll catch up with you again next time, okay?
Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
You got it. There you go. Jake Boakes, Conservation Warden for the state of Wisconsin. Hey, before we take a break, I want to remind you shortly after, shortly after we're done, there'll be a new episode of the Rollin' with the Golds podcast, our Blue Gold podcast that we do. It's an awesome story with athletes, Brett Farmer, who is also the student body president over there. But check that out later on. And later on this afternoon, we will find out who the new men's basketball coach.
I was going to say, I bet it won't be long. And the new basketball coach will be on the podcast, the Blue Gold podcast. Looking forward to that. And boy, if I was a new coach coming in here with the new facilities being built, I'd be very excited.
Yeah, definitely. I would be pumped up. So, all right. So let's do a quick break here. And we'll finish up with some picks and predicts, shall we? So, quick break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes to wrap up this Thursday morning. All right, it is time to do some picks and predicts. Although, do you got something to say about your?
No, I was just looking. We're talking to Jake, and I know he had to leave, but I was just reading and get emails from the DNR that I enjoy reading, and trout and salmon in Wisconsin. Check out whirling disease. I was going to ask him about whirling disease. It's kind of interesting read, but we'll save that for a future time.
Yeah, I know. We had a couple of late questions coming in here, so we'll save those for next time. We have Jake on too. Reminder earlier, get them in the better we can, and text it to us too, because that's the easiest way to get those right away for Jake. But all right, let's do some picks and predicts. Brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire, located right next to Banbury Place. Don't forget, they've got trivia now on Wednesdays. So, or if you're looking for somewhere maybe to catch some of the games this weekend, or baseball games or basketball, head on over to the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. Hey, at least we don't have to pick a Bucks game for tonight.
No, boy, that's hard to do.
That's
a guessing game right now.
It is, and it stinks. Let's be real, it kind of stinks.
Yeah, they've stunk the last couple of games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, life was easy if they win those last two games like they should have.
Yeah,
but now they've made it an effort.
Let's do a couple of NBA games. We got Philly at Miami.
Philly.
I'll go Philly
back.
too.
Embiid's back.
Sacramento at New York.
Sacramento.
I'll go New York.
Is Randall back?
No.
I'll take Sacramento.
Let's go Denver at the Clippers.
Denver. I just like Jokic.
Mm-hmm. I like
Denver play. He's funny.
I'm going to go Denver in this one too. Golden State at Houston. Houston trying to get in that top 10 right now.
But I think Golden State's on a roll. They're playing well, and they've got something to play for too. They have to continue to winning to stay out of all the extracurricular activity to get into the finals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm going to go Golden State as well. Do some baseball games. Not a lot on the docket here. Hopefully, Detroit and the Mets can get their doubleheader in coming up here. But other than that, not a lot of games here. How about Pittsburgh at Washington?
Whoa. Pittsburgh's playing well right now.
They are.
I'm going to take Pittsburgh.
I'll go Pittsburgh too. Twins at home against the Cleveland Guardians.
I'm glad I don't have a ticket to have to sit over there today with the wind blowing the way it's going to be blowing and temperatures only going to be barely in the 40s. It's not good baseball weather.
Yeah, Cleveland's off to a good start, 5-2.
Yeah, I'll take Cleveland.
I'm going to go Cleveland too. I'll go Cleveland too. Let's go. Because they're in a division, we might as well pick it. But Miami is not off to a good start. They're 0-7.
Yeah, they're having a tough time.
I saw one article already up saying, is Miami going to be sellers sooner than they thought? We're 1 week in already.
Well, I hope they don't panic.
Gosh. But they're going up against the Cardinals today in St. Louis.
I think the Dolphins. I think Miami's going to get off the schneid.
Maybe the only way Miami does is if the Dolphins play
that's true,
the Cardinals there.
Tua's on the mound.
Yeah. Tyreek Hill stealing some bases over there. So
he probably could.
I'll go St. Louis in their home opener today too. So that's about it. That's what we got for some picks and predicts for this morning. Again, brought to you by the Elbow Room. There we go. But
NCAA tonight? Thursday
tomorrow.
Night? Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow for the women's Final Four starts tomorrow.
Who plays the first game?
South Carolina, North Carolina. They get the first one.
North Carolina State.
North Carolina State, excuse me. Yep.
Well, I'll take South Carolina in that.
Yeah.
I'll give them 10 points.
Actually, both of them are in action tomorrow. That's right. Yep, both are in action tomorrow. So
yeah, because they play Friday and
I got confused because Iowa and LSU had played the day after, and they got an extra. South Carolina got an extra day of rest, if that matters. But yeah, I'm gonna go. I'll make mine again tomorrow. But yeah, South Carolina and gosh, Iowa, UConn.
That's going to be a tough one, and that might come down to coaching.
Yeah,
and Gino Auriemma has got so many national titles. Can he handle Caitlin Clark? I don't know. She is such a dynamic player and so different from any. She's so different than any woman. Breanna Stewart won 4 titles with Connecticut, but she was so big and so dominant. And Caitlin Clark isn't all that big, but she is just so different. I don't know if Auriemma can come up with a defense, but if anybody could, it would be him.
Well, I wonder, I mean, is the best way to play this is like, she's going to get hers points wise, but do you try to limit her from distributing the ball to others? So essentially taking everybody else out of the game.
No, that's what I say. Oriyama is such a good coach. He's got something in mind. I know that, but I'm still going to take Iowa.
I'll take Iowa too. My original pick was South Carolina and Iowa in the championship, so I'm riding with that. I got nothing else to change that. But
no, I'm going that way too. I hope Caitlin Clark gets her ring.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that game she had against LSU, that's legendary players have games like that. 41 points, 12 assists, 7 rebounds.
Second half was remarkable.
Yeah. I mean, 40 minutes. She played. It's just, it was. Those are the moments when those legends shine in situations like that.
Receiver to first, she'll have a better pro career than Angel
Reese.
Angel Reese.
I think so.
I do too.
I do. I think so. So, and I'm excited. I don't know. I'm assuming her and Paige, Caitlin and Paige, are going to be matched up quite a bit in this game.
I would assume so.
And could that be what maybe the WNBA needs? Paige's got another year of college. She's coming back. But that
Caitlin
rivalry.
Clark could actually come back.
She already declared.
I know she declared, but she would.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Paige Becker's had that knee problem. I don't know if she's flexible enough to stay with Caitlin Clark, or is there potential she could twist that knee or turn that knee? Again, we'll wait to see what Gino Oriyama decides he wants to do and how he thinks the best way is to guard Caitlin Clark. And Bluter, the coach for Iowa, has to do the same thing. Paige Beckers is a good offensive player as well. Not anything like Caitlin Clark, but she's very, very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so that's going to be a good game.
It is, and I'm excited. That's going to be the second one tomorrow night too. So just to put it on the calendar there. South Carolina, NC State, 6 p.m. And then it says 8 p.m., but we know it all depends on.
It's always later than that.
All right, so I'll ask you who's going to the national championship for the men's side.
UConn and Purdue.
Yep.
And then I think UConn's going to win it all.
See, my brackets stink, but I had South Carolina and Iowa for this, and I had UConn and Purdue in my men's one, so at least that worked out.
Yeah, there you go. I think
I'm like
UConn is just seems like they're in a different zone.
Yeah. It's Florida again from Billy Donovan when they had those teams.
Yeah, they're dominant. And I mean, this Hurley is really Danny Hurley is really turning out to be a good coach, and I think he's going to dominate for a long time, bringing Connecticut back to reality, or back to national prominence, because they kind of fell by the wayside for a while there.
Yep.
And he's bringing them back. I know they had a national championship here a few years ago with
Kevin Ollie,
but it was kind of a fluke more than anything.
Wisconsin would have won that if Kentucky didn't make that 3.
Yeah, and but I think Hurley is a good coach. I really do.
And I don't think I could be completely wrong, but I don't think he would be the one that goes to the NBA. Like Billy Donovan jumped to the NBA.
Yeah,
I feel like Danny Hurley's a college coach.
I think so too. I think he's more comfortable there. I think he's better there. It's personality fits college athletes, and you don't hear anything. I haven't heard, so I can't say it didn't happen or won't happen, but his kids jumping from going in the transfer portal and this, that, and the other thing. He's got a pretty stable program he's building there, and it's a good program, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, let's face it, UConn is a basketball college too, so not really competing against football. Yeah. Football's had some good years, but it's UConn basketball.
It's an afterthought.
It's men and women's basketball in that university.
Oh, absolutely, and they've got some championship banners hanging in the rafters between the men and the women. Old Jim Calhoun when he was the coach, and it's quite a tradition they've built up there.
Absolutely. So what's going to happen though too, and I get it. But if Hurley wins again back to back, you're going to be talking about, okay, where does he rank already? Because that's what people are going to throw out there.
A young guy, he's got a lot of years left.
So that's where I kind of if Billy Donovan did make the jump, and I know Florida had some down years after that though too, but I don't know if he would have won another national championship. I don't know though. With things are changed now with how basketball is. Danny Hurley might still win a couple more after this.
Yeah, he will, because like I said, he's got a stable program. The guys aren't jumping in and out like Wisconsin. Who the world knows who's going to be on the floor next year for Wisconsin? Is Sejan going to be playing at Michigan? Is Storr going to be playing down at Illinois? You know, the recruits that he's had that he redshirted are transferring out before they ever get a chance to play. You know, it's you don't see that in the Connecticut program.
Yeah. Nope. So, all right. That's going to do it for us because the shot clock's going to cut me off here in about 20 seconds or so. But good to have you back, man.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
You gonna stick around now for a while, or?
Well, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
But it's hard not to like 85 and 90-degree temperatures with a light wind blowing and seeing some wonders of the world like the Panama Canal. I'm telling you, if you ever get a chance to see the Panama Canal, it is worth it. Just the whole environment, not just the canal, but the environment around it too. The ships, so many ships sitting out in the ocean waiting to go through. It's a sight to see.
Oh, good stuff. DP and the Danettes are up next. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning to wrap up the week. See you then, 6 a.m. Talk to you then.